Good evening, and welcome to tonight's Town Council meeting on Monday, May 22nd, 2023, here at 7:02 p.m. in the McKinnon Council Chambers. Relative to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, and for the benefit of the public, this meeting is being recorded by both video and audio methods. The first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Second order of business is roll call. Sue?
Councilor Daniel?
Present.
Councilor Adams?
Present.
Councilor Dow?
I'm present too.
There. I said you. Didn't I say you?
I know, but Dow decided to.
No, because I usually go behind
He
Daniel.
jumped in. I wasn't looking.
I usually go behind Daniel. Usually Daniel is me, so I'm not sure.
Sorry, Councilor Adams? Councilor Adams, are you here?
He's present. Yep.
Yes. Okay, Councilor Dow?
Present.
Councilor Lazo?
Present.
Councilor Marchetti?
Present.
Councilor Montigny?
Present.
Councilor Rivas?
Present.
Councilor Ryan?
Present.
Councilor Steves?
Present. Very good. 9 present. Here we go. Item number 3, consider and accept the Town Council meeting minutes of Monday, May 8, 2023. I'd like to have a motion to postpone those to the next meeting.
So moved.
You have a motion by Councilor Lazo, a second by Councilor Ryan to postpone until the next meeting. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 4, subcommittee reports. Department of Public Works, Councilor Marchetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, DPW had a meeting on May 15th, 2023. On tonight's agenda, our agenda item number 10, the FY24 sewer enterprise budget. Agenda item number 11, the FY24 water enterprise budget. Agenda item number 25, voted to accept 3 no-cost speed feedback and school zone speed limit signs through Mass DOT's Safe Routes to School grant. Agenda item number 26, voted to approve amendment number 3 for additional construction oversight by Ty and Bond on the South Street project, $81,000. And agenda item number 27, voted to approve change order number 4 as recommended by Ty and Bond on the South Street project, $134,805. Agenda item number 28 tonight, voted to approve change of scope on the Ellis Road project. In addition, we discussed and voted on the following. We voted to appropriate $350,000 from the Water Department capital budget to fund a raw water quality improvement project. We voted to award engineering design, bid, and permitting for polymer feed station to Ty and Bond for $38,500. Due to the length of tonight's meeting, these agendas will be on the next Town Council meeting. We also discussed our road improvement plans going forward. There was no recommendation at the time, although Councilor Steves suggested we make a list of all of our current and future projects in town, which we thought was a good idea. The town manager did present a report to the subcommittee on all the projects as he presented tonight, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Education and Human Services, Councilor Montigny.
Thank you. The budgets were recommended unanimously. We had a little bit of discussion about tweaking something in the health department regarding testing, and we can discuss that here at council as what the recommendation of the board was. And we have a meeting scheduled May 31st. The agenda is to follow. It's at 6 o'clock downstairs in the Veterans Room, and where we'll be talking about the highly anticipated Thrive Act, which helps towns get out of receivership, among other things. Thank you.
Very good. Item 4C, General Government, Council Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have not met since our last council meeting. We do have another meeting scheduled for 7 p.m. on that same night, the 31st. And we're going to be talking about a few, starting to look at some of our policy changes, some of the old policy books that are kind of gathering dust right now, and a few transfers, and we'll probably be doing something with that that flag issue that we had Mr. Detmold came over and talk about.
Yep, very good. Item 4D, Planning and Development, Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, we had a meeting on May 17th. Agenda items number 30 and 31 are on tonight's agenda. We don't have anything scheduled at this point in time. Thank you.
Very good. Item 4E, protection of persons and property. Council Lazo.
Through the chair, no report at this time, but we have a meeting scheduled Monday, June 5th, 6 o'clock, Veterans Room.
All set. Very good. Item 5, chairman's announcements. I have no announcements this evening. Item 6, town manager's announcements. Mr. Manager.
I have none.
Very good. Item 7, presentations. We have no presentations this evening, scheduled for this evening. Item number 8, citizens forum. Are there any citizens that would like to address the council this evening on an item not on tonight's agenda? Very good. Moving on to item number 9. I'll read the entire agenda item. I'll take a motion on it, and then we'll go into the voting document. Item 9, vote to adopt the fiscal year 2024 Town of Southbridge General Fund operating budget per the attached voting document in the amount of $64,035,607 to be funded as follows. Raise and appropriate $62,451,403. Transfers from other available funds. Sale of street list books, $500. Cable operating account, $213,371. Debt service reserve, $950,000. Perpetual care interest, $2,000. Access road debt service, $337,140. Landfill reimbursement fund, $72,500. Sale of lots and graves, $5,000. Subtotal for transfers from all other available funds, $1,580,511. Other transfers, Bay Path bond premium, $3,693. Subtotal of other transfers, $3,693. Total general fund budget, $64,035,607.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Ryan, second by Councilor Steves. I'll now go to the voting document. As I read through the document, I'll read the amounts that we're going to budget appropriate vote, and if there are any holds that the councils would like to address, then we can put a hold on. We'll go through the whole item, and then we'll go back and get the holds as they appeared. Everyone all set? Everyone know what we're doing? Very good. General government, town council, $20,650. Town manager, $299,761. Town accountant, $142,702. Assessors, $211,902. Treasurer collector, $374,954. Town attorney, $117,500. Human resources, $177,099. Town clerk, $212,462. Elections and registration, $89,206. Planning board, $89,560. Economic development, $15,251. Cable TV Advisory Committee, $213,371. General government program accounts. Audit fees, $37,500. Copy machine costs, $17,000. Telephone, $45,000. Postage, $45,000. Natural gas, $65,000. Heating fuel, $64,000. Property management miscellaneous, $12,000. Reserve for property repair, maintenance, and demo, $50,000. Fuel and lubricants, $292,050. Subtotal for administration, $627,550. Data processing, $329,194. Council reserve, $80,000.
Hold.
Thank you. Contributory retirement, $4,488,731. Personnel, Sick vacation leave buyback, $15,000. Recruitment and processing, $0. Tuition, $14,475. Employer Medicare tax, $159,000. Subtotal personnel, $4,677,206. Group health and life, $4,760,000. General insurance, workers' compensation, $75,000. Workers' compensation school, $175,000. Unemployment compensation, $50,000. Property insurance, $235,000. Deductible for liability, $30,000. Insurance premium, $129,000. Insurance IOD, $70,000. Subtotal general insurance, $749,235. Boards, committees, and commissions. Central Mass Regional Planning, $5,471. Conservation Commission, $1,000. Zoning Boards of Appeals, $250. Historical Commission, $500. Licensing Board, $500. Subtotal boards and committees, $7,721. Debt service. Principal on debt, $2,222,157. Interest on long-term debt, $694,404. Interest on short-term debt, $100,000. Issuance expense, $3,000. Total of $3,019,561. Special accounts. Revaluation services, 0. Ambulance billing services, $33,000. Medicaid billing, $20,000. Other post-employment benefits, $5,100. Subtotal special accounts, $58,100. Miscellaneous state and county assessments, overlay reserve, raised on recap, not in the total, no vote required. General government total, $16,272,985. Public safety, police, $4,986,799. Fire, $3,043,334. Inspections, $187,455. Public safety program accounts, streetlights, $220,000. Total public safety program, $220,000. Public safety total, $8,437,588. Public Works, DPW operations and administration, $2,090,044. DPW snow and ice account, $400,000. Public Works total, $2,490,044. Human Services, Health Department, $659,145.
Hold.
Thank you. Veteran Services, $75,933. Community Center, $49,352. Library, $574,884. Recreation, $75,438. EHS program accounts. Veterans Benefits, $135,000. Veterans Memorials, $3,200. EHS program accounts, $138,200. Human Services total, $1,572,952. Education. Southbridge Public Schools, $34,017,145.
Hold.
Thank you. Southbridge Public Schools total, $34,017,145. Southern Worcester County Regional School District, Bay Path, $1,029,908. Southern Worcester County Regional School District, Bay Path, debt service, $214,985. Subtotal for Bay Path, $1,244,893. Education total, $35,262,038. General fund totals, $64,035,607. Sewer enterprise fund. Sewer budget fund, $4,343,759. Water fund budget, $3,616,054. Enterprise funds total, $7,959,813. $813, I'm sorry. Enterprise fund totals, $7,959,813. Totals, $71,995,420. Okay, let's go back and go to the holds. The first hold came at Council Reserve. I believe that was Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Just a quick, normally we have $100,000 within the reserve, and this year the town manager, based on some recommendations from the subcommittee, recommended taking $20,000 out. I just want to give you the importance of the council reserve. First of all, you don't have to get a two-thirds vote to spend out the funds. And I went back and did a little history, thanks to Christine over the accounting. I just wanted information on the last couple fiscal years. The last couple years when we've had 100,000, let's go back to fiscal year 22. We did have $55,000 remaining out in the council reserve. But I want to recall, just let everybody know that it was last year that we had to do an emergency spending request from the schools for $50,000, not knowing that we would later on get that money back through a grant from the state. So that would actually leave us about $5,000 short, or $5,000 left over. The fiscal year 23 at this point in time, we have about $43,000 is available left. Yet we have about $21,000 coming next month worth of expenditures that we're going to probably have to take out of council reserve, getting us closer to that $80,000 to $100,000 mark. I am requesting that the council reinstate the $100,000 instead of the $80,000. This is funds that we utilize for last-minute withdrawals or requests, especially at the end of the fiscal year when people are trying to pay the bills that came in, that don't come in until the month of June. And then their budgets themselves are kind of short. So I'm requesting that the town council, in fact, put that back up to $100,000. I know that it's going to take a two-thirds vote to do that. That's all I have right now. Thank you.
Are you making a motion?
I make a motion to amend it to $100,000.
Motion by Councilor Adams, second by Councilor Dow to change that item number from $80,000 to $100,000. Discussion. Councilman Tigney.
Thank you. Just for clarification, this is the same thing you were talking about when we spoke at the podium at the public hearing, Mr. Manager?
Through the chair. Yes. In order to try to keep my overall budget the same way, with the recommendation to go to the $80,000, which I didn't see a problem with, I added that $20,000 into this other thing to extend the full-time position for the inspector.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Steves.
I remember when it came up, I think I was one of the people who suggested that we cut it to 80,000 back in GenGov. And actually, I was thinking about it. I personally think that it would actually make more sense from a service perspective to do what the manager suggested we do with the other 20 grand. Because I think there's such a need with the health department, the assistant building inspectors, and that particular department in general, to get so much stuff done that having that extra person be full-time makes a lot of sense to me. And I think that it'll help us in the long run to get some of the things done that we need to get done around town. I understand your point, Councilor Adams, about sometimes we skate the edge of using the funds that we currently are slotting for this account. But we do have, at this point, we do have millions of dollars in free cash. And we have not had to go into stabilization very often, but when we do, the need is usually quite obvious. And I don't think we've ever had a problem with getting a two-thirds or even unanimous votes to do it. I don't recall ever in 9 years not doing that. So the chances of us not doing it anytime soon are pretty slim.
Councilman Digny?
Thank you. To the previous speaker's concerns, am I understanding this correctly? This is just an amendment to put the 20 back. It doesn't get rid of the full-time
No.
inspector position. That's separate. Right, but they just want to put $20,000 back. It doesn't have anything to do with the inspector's
But
assistant.
it adds $20,000 to the budget because he moved the $20,000 from here to that inspector's job.
Right. You
So the
could-
money is still in the budget.
Right. You could say that, but you could also say that the elimination of the third position in the front office is nearly the same price increase that it is. You could say it came from anywhere, but I just don't think that this vote or amendment by Councilor Adams has anything to do with removing the inspector's position. I think it's just put this money back, and it's a separate issue altogether. I think it was just a reason. It wasn't tied together. Thank you.
Council Lazo, then Council Marquetti.
I too am concerned about the $20,000 for the inspections department. Went through subcommittee. My question to the town manager is, if we are going to put $20,000 back in, where is it coming from?
If I could, Mr. Chair.
Certainly.
I would just recommend you add it to the budget. You vote aye.
Just add it? So in other words, the tax increase would be a little bit larger.
A little bit more.
Well, we've got plenty of free cash. We could take it out of free cash. We've got $3 million in free cash.
I personally am voting no. We have been very, very conservative as a council in the last 5-6 years. We have stockpiled money in some of these accounts, free cash, capital. The intention is always to be ready for emergencies, tragedies, or some sort of storm, hurricane, tornado, whatever, or a boiler blowing up, or asbestos located in a building, or a pandemic. But I think in this case here, I'm going to vote no, because I think I'd like to keep the taxes as low as we can. Thank you.
Council Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we should leave it alone as well. We fully vetted this at the General Government Subcommittee meeting. We had a long talk about it, and the consensus in the vote at the General Government was to take the $20,000 out. So I'm in favor of leaving it alone. Thank you.
Councilor Rivas.
Just a question to the town manager. So if we leave this 80 amount as is, and we do have an emergency that we need additional funds above and beyond the 80, would that come from the free cash, or where would that amount come from?
Well, it would be the council's choice, maybe with the recommendation of the manager. It could come from free cash stabilization. It could be transfer from other funds.
Thank you.
Council Steves, then Councilor Ryan.
Since we're raising this issue, if I may go slightly off the immediate item, since we've been talking about stabilization, I was curious that I noticed that during your presentation, we didn't talk about stabilization. Do you have any intentions of using some of the excess free cash money for stabilization?
Through the chair, yes. I mean, it's my understanding that has been the policy of the town council.
It has.
In addition, we haven't funded any of our OPEB liability with this budget, as you didn't last year. And
Right.
so I assume that at a meeting in June, we'll be reviewing that, and we'll put money into stabilization and also fund the OPEB liability.
Okay.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I support keeping it the same. I think it's easy enough to find 20,000 if we need to find 20,000. I think it's important, though, and in all of our accounts that we try to trim back the set amount of what has been, because, yeah, we had that 1 year, but historically it has been an account in my time watching that has gone a little bit more unused. So I would feel comfortable with, if we're going to have a big emergency anyway, we have plenty in our savings accounts for those one-time expenses. So I support keeping it where it is.
Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Chair, through you. I'm not sure why we touched the 100,000 anyway. If the history showing we did use it for important last year, why we reduce it to 80? We didn't look for different place to cut money, like some department or offices have overlap employee or something. I mean, we should keep that 100,000 for emergency, and we'll look somewhere else where we lap or extra employee we don't need. We can save some money. I will support the 100,000. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not to belabor this any longer, I just wanted to show the council that we in fact have used it the last few years. Those that did not hear that, again, it's out there. Right now, like I said, last year, $55,000 were left over, but we used $50,000 at the last possible minute to make sure that the schools were taken care of, though we received the money back from the state. Another thing is $42,000. We're going to spend probably over $21,000 in the month of June and probably in council reserve to cover that up. $20,000 out of a $72 million budget. I'm not sure how much cut because I can see other cuts happening at the same time. I'm not sure about that $20,000 that can be possibly, I'll give you a scenario. If I'd known that this was coming out of stabilization money, I probably would not have made the decision on my own because I would have had to get that council. This was 2/3 vote out of stabilization money. So that being said, Councilor Dow made a great point. The fact is we know within that budget itself that there's going to be people that are going to be let go, who are going to resign, that won't fill that position or any position during this fiscal year. You get to $20,000 right there. We see it all the time within our budgets. So I don't see a big problem with the $20,000 at this point in time, but if the council chooses to keep it at 80, it does so. Thank you.
Councilor Laszlo.
I agree with Councilor Adams on a different twist. If there's a position that doesn't get filled, the first 20,000, and we know we're going to have 20,000 somewhere because we didn't spend something, we can put it in council reserve. If we leave the budget the way it is now, we can add the $20,000 at a later date if there's a surplus issue. And I know we're going to have surplus issues. We have them all the time. Thank you.
Anyone else? There being no further discussion, roll call.
Councilor Adams?
Yes.
Councilor Dow?
Yes.
Councilor Lazo?
No.
Councilor Marquetti?
No.
Councilor Montigny?
No.
Councilor Rivas?
No.
Councilor Ryan?
No.
And Councilor Steves?
No.
You skipped me.
Oh, Councilor Dan, sorry. Chair Daniel?
Yes. 3 yeses, 6 noes, the motion fails. The amount remains at $80,000. The grand total remains the same. Second hold is on page 2 of the voting document. Under Human Services, Health Department, $659,145. I believe Council Montigny held that.
Yes, that's correct. Just scrolling back to that. So it was brought up by other members of the EHS subcommittee that the testing and evaluation account number, I don't want to butcher it here, but it's $5,400 for the testing and evaluation of third-party monitoring of water testing related to the landfill. I'm looking at my EHS packet from the 412 meeting, but I would like somebody that has more, expertise in this than me, which I have none. Why are we going to cut that out? Maybe the health inspector. We're trying to save money in different places, but people had the flavor at subcommittee that we could cut this, but we really needed to discuss it as a full council. Something to do with the fact that the landfill, we're moving on to this new trash collection and that the $5,400 is not needed. So I defer to the manager or the health inspector, or Councilor Marquetti wants to speak.
The health director. It's the health director here.
I thought so.
Oh.
Oh, he's over there.
Oh. Certainly.
Health inspectors, so through you, Jack Jovan, 80 Highland Street, Southbridge. When we discussed it last year at council, DPW Director Heather Blakely, I believe, and Andy Pelletier, there was the third-party testing for the test that we did for the well that I believe Time Bond does on the regular testing for the Casella, for all that issues down there. And it was the town had decided to do third-party testing. And I believe at the meeting with Mr. Pelletier at that time, he said consistently that that these third-party tests that we were getting were the same as what Ty and Bond was giving us. And he said, perhaps give us another year of testing, and when it came up to council this year, that we would then evaluate it to say, hey, look, if these tests are consistent, it was a council's decision many years ago to seek that third-party testing due to whatever the issues were with all that project. And it was the recommendation to do one more year of testing at the 5,400, evaluate those tests. If it was consistent, then the council would look to possibly cut that from the funding. So that was the history that I have on that one.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Council Marquetti first, then Council Lazo.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Former Councilor Jovan said it better than I could, and that's exactly what it was. And then the health director also confirmed that. We just don't need that testing anymore, so that's why we cut it out. Thank you.
Very good, Council Lazo.
I'd just like to say to Councilor Jovan, it's always nice to know the history. When you have somebody that lived it, that was there, it's always some fresh knowledge. Thank you.
Anyone else?
I just have a clarification. Are
Certainly.
we cutting it, or what's the deal there?
Sorry.
Thank you. I would make an amendment if the Ty and Bond that Mr. Jovan was talking about, are they going to continue doing this forever? Are we going to need to put this back in someday because there won't be any testing at all?
No, we're cutting it out.
Right, but is it because the Ty and Bond is going to continue doing this for a period?
Third-party testing.
Right.
That's what that is.
I'm just saying, we're doing the third-party testing as a backup to make sure that it's okay, but is somebody going to continue doing the first test? Not our third-party test, but is someone going to continue doing this forever?
I believe so, yeah. It's by state law. Yeah.
They'll continue the testing after the cap for a certain period afterwards to make sure that the levels stay the same, but it will still be run through DEP.
Okay.
It's part of the post-closure.
Yes.
And it has to remain part of the post-closure as long as that landfill has to do post-closure. The former health inspector said they have to continue testing. So it's just a backup test, that was all.
Well, then, Mr. Chairman, I guess I'll make a motion to amend that we remove the 5,400 from
I'll
that
second
account.
that.
Second?
5,400?
It is the testing and evaluation account.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Montigny, a second by Councilor Ryan to remove $5,400 from that testing account.
That would be the health department? Would that be the health department or inspections? I think
That's,
It's
well,
health.
It's Health Department. Okay, Councilor Dow, did you want to say something? No? Okay. Any discussion on this?
Mr. Chair, for point of clarification, the last 6 digits of the account, I believe, is 530700. Just for clarification.
Say that again, please.
530700, if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah.
Okay. Sue, did you get that?
I did, yes.
I just want to make sure we're all set here.
Yep.
Councilor Steves.
Just to clarify, that would make the health department budget $653,745.
Say that again.
That would make the health department budget $653,745.
745.
Yep.
Okay. Any further discussion? Mr. Manager.
Ask the health director to make sure he's comfortable with that.
Certainly.
Dan?
Mr. W.?
Good evening.
Good evening. Are you comfortable with that change?
I am very comfortable. There's no need for it at this point. I think the testing has been done for years. The accuracy levels have been substantiated. There has not been any erroneous information submitted. We're confident that the initial testing and the results are valid and accurate.
Councilor Steves.
And just to clarify, so we are talking in this case about, I know Casella tests or is it that Ty and Bond is testing for us and we are double checking Ty and Bond?
Yes, we are double
That's
checking.
what we're doing. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
and the initial tests are mandated through DEP,
Right, that's
and
what
they
I
will
thought.
continue.
Probably Ty and Bond.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Sue?
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Montigny?
Yes.
Counselor Reyes?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Chair Daniel?
Yes.
And Counselor Adams.
Yes.
Very good. Motion passes. So the $5,400 comes out of the budget. The new grand total is $64,000.
No, 653,745.
Do you want that amount in the motion? The new total in the motion? Do you want me to put that in the motion?
We'll amend it at the end
the end,
with the grand total. 30207. I believe it brings it down to $64,030,207.
No, 653,745.
He's second the grand total.
The grand total.
Yeah.
Grand total. Good. Okay. Moving on. We have a hold on the Southbridge Public Schools budget of $34,017,145. Councilman Tigney, you can begin.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I've done some homework in the last hour. I have found on DESI's website required net school spending for fiscal year '24. It's $38,095,221, which, if you go back, is what Dr. Villar proposed. Again, I'm just scrolling back. And because I just wanted, for the public's sake, to read. Okay. The number is correct, verified on the website for DESI, $38,095,221. Subtracting $2,251,440 for charter tuition assessment, subtracting $1,326,407 for school choice tuition assessment, subtracting $71,839 for state special education assessment, subtracting $5,001,833 for municipal related costs, Schedule 19, and then adding $557,453 for charter tuition reimbursement, and adding $4,015,990 for transportation, the number comes out to $34,017,145, which is what was discussed earlier. And, you know, I really wish this very high-paid front office at the school would have provided this information rather than me go dig for it, because they're the experts. But it appears to my understanding that it is at minimum school expenditure, and I really don't have a motion. If these numbers look accurate to me, I just wanted to be clear, because we had a little discussion at the public hearing, that I think it checks out. Again, I wish I didn't find it myself, but that's all I have.
Very good. Councilor Rivas.
So I guess I would be inclined to agree with some of the speakers earlier around we don't want to penalize our students, right? And we want to make sure that there is the adequate funding for our students. I do wish I would be more comfortable voting for this budget if we had a little bit more information around the administration. I know that we have in the budget, we had a presentation on the retention and the consistency around this various positions, but I'd love to see more information around the retention for principals. When I also went on the DESI district profile, I compared our district to Holyoke, which is another district in receivership, and our retention rate is much lower in those positions around principals. Ours is a 50% retention rate, and Holyoke is 66.7, and that's compared to the state at 79.3. in our teacher retention, I'd love to sort of see a little bit more information on how we are addressing the retention of our leadership in the different buildings, not just at the higher levels. I'd also love to see a breakdown in the administration. Sort of, we hear a lot about the school district being top heavy. Data is the only thing that counters that narrative, and so I'd love to see more data on, what is the breakdown? What are the administrators in each building? What are those positions? And what do those positions do? I think that would clarify a lot of the information, right? We always hear a lot of different things, and the only thing that combats that is transparency and more information. That's really the bottom line. But as Councilor Ryan said earlier, I do think that we want to let residents at the ballot box give us more direction in terms of their feelings about receivership. We also want to have our legislators, right, advocating for us at the state level. The receiver didn't create the law, right? Sure. And so he was appointed by the commissioner, and there is a whole system behind that. And so I do want to see our legislators advocating more for our community at that state level, because at this level, it is difficult. We don't want to hold our students and families hostage because they do need this money to run our school system. But I do wish that there was more detailed information than what we've been presented. So thank you.
Councilor Lazo.
I couldn't agree with Councilor Rivas more. I think when we talk about our school system, we have to also understand as councilors, the only thing we can do is cut the bottom line. And that's been like that for years. And that's why people ask, where's the minimum school per pupil school expenditure? And when the number is minimum, and in the past few years I've been on council, we've given more than minimum to show the state that we are trying to help, so it would look better as we come out of underperforming someday. Well, with that history behind us and the 6 years of history going forward, we can all have an opinion, and I have mine. Receiverships don't work. They haven't showed me one successful. They came in, straightened it out, and left. Do I blame Mr. Villar for that? No. The state never gave an exit plan. There is no blueprint to get out. I've never seen one. I've been asking one for a while. That's why with the Thrive legislation, the ballot vote for the town of Southbridge, to give their personal opinion. They're asking the voters and the parents that send their kids to the school, should we take the school district over or should we leave it the way it is? And I think we're all done, beating up Mr. LaVallar. Let's just go hammer the head guy. Do I think he's doing a spectacular job? Absolutely not. My job is to put him in the unemployment line and take our district back, and I mean that in a good way. Moving forward, we know what goes on in our district because we get the phone calls. If you want to hear from somebody that knows a little bit about school districts, we are top heavy. We're very top heavy. We have the assistant to the assistant. We have more principal and assistant principals. And normally I probably wouldn't even have a problem with it if our student population didn't nosedive during the receivership. So when you do, and here's where I really agree with you, if we just could have a data flowing to our school committee to better understand where we are, where we were, where we're going, we would have a better communication. The council, Mr. Villar technically does not have to answer to that school committee. He is the school committee. He takes the power away from the school committee. which again now becomes a one-person operation. It's on the lines of a dictatorship. And again, it's not Mr. Villar's problem. He didn't design it. He was appointed to it, and he's trying his best to get us out. And let me pick a positive note. The guy's name is Mr. House, middle school principal, shining star, low turnover in teachers, high retention in students. I mean, we're doing something's going right over there. So now I hear we're gonna make him head of the whole building. The thing that scares me is not a one of these people were there when the building was built. It was built and designed a specific way. We have a college in there. We don't have a lot of our departments got wiped out of that wing for the high school. The high school has the highest turnover of teachers. At the end of this year, I would love to know what the percentage is of the turnover. So to cut to the short, Councilor Rivas, you're 100% right. I'm not up here to go beat on somebody or pick on somebody politically. I just think there's a job ahead, and where we are and his design is never going to work. And I will be here 5 years from now and say, I told you so. Just like I sit here tonight to the parents that thought the receivership was the way to go. You got what you wanted? I told you so. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I'll just keep my comments brief. I wish I had more data in terms of what the long-term plan, what's long-term safety plans are being reevaluated after the incident and how the budget reflects that change. It's something that's consistently being brought up to me. It's been the center of our conversation for a while, and I would like some more information about what long-term changes we're making to policies to help and budget priorities to help make sure that our schools are as safe as possible. So if that information could be provided by someone from the district, I would appreciate that. That's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Councilor Adams, then Councilor Marquetti.
Just a couple of things. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a point of clarification to Councilor Rivas. The school, and I'm looking over what they provided. It does provide a breakdown of individuals or individual positions within the different multiple schools within our district. I just wanted to, is that what you're looking for, or is this not sufficient? It shows that there's reductions based on fiscal year 23, 24. There's a request for increase. This is what they're looking at as they're evaluating the new fiscal year. Is this something that you want to see or something different?
Through the chair, I'd like to see sort of like what titles or what positions those are, and sort of a description of what the function of each position in the administrative role from the schools. I see the numbers in here, and if that was talked about at EHS, I did miss that meeting, so I'm not sure if that was talked about there. But yeah, just fleshing out a little bit, just what positions, titles, and what the role is of those positions in each building. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know I'm kind of going off. It seems like everybody went a little bit off this agenda item itself, but I do want to add in here, within the actual presentation is the minimum net school spending that was proposed by the receiver in the school district, and it shows a complete breakdown on there as well. So Dr. Villar did, and his staff did provide that to the town council. I'll call where it needs to be called, but I have no problem saying that the town council needs to probably do a little bit better job taking an evaluation on themselves when it comes to the school system itself, and I want to be an honest broker on both sides, and we can get up here in front of the cameras and say this and the same thing over and over. The fact is, it's here and now, and I look forward to moving forward and go from there. I think the counselors up here already know my standing on multiple things when it comes to the school, and I believe Dr. Villar does as well, and so does the state at this point in time. So that's all I have at this point in time. I'll be supporting the net school spending as required by Mass General Law 70, section, I believe it is 11, and we'll go from there. There's no symbolic gestures up here. Once we vote, it's an official vote. And the fact is, if you look at the Mass General Law, it'll clearly state what's going to happen to the municipality, or what can happen to the municipality, the schools itself, the teachers, all that kind of stuff. It's all in Mass General Law. So though I'm not willing to go further as far as the funds are concerned, you know, it is the net school spending that the commissioner, the great state of Massachusetts, has decided to provide us. So that's what we've got. Thank you.
Council Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. I have no problem with the school budget as well. I think they did a good job of it. I know there were glowing praises of the receiver when he came to EHS on his budget, so I'm okay with it as it's presented. I also just want to say, to talk about the retentions and things about staffing and stuff, that's not really part of this discussion tonight. However, I did read the state's report back in 2015. Why are we in receivership? And I understand why we're here, because of the same things that you're talking about now. There were problems with staffing back then. There were problems with having a revolving door in management. So that you have to understand, go back and look, why are we in receivership before you criticize what's going on now? Believe me, I want receivership to end as well. Let's work together and see what we can do. But as far as this budget tonight, I'm supporting it. Thank you.
Anyone else? There's no motion on the floor. We'll move on. Okay, we're going to vote on the general budget with an amended amount. Let me read the amended amendment with the proper numbers filled in. And I'll take a motion to amend, and then we'll vote on the amended motion. Vote to adopt the fiscal year 2024 Town of Southbridge General Fund operating budget per the attached voting document in the amount of $64,030,207. Let me repeat that. $64,030,207.
So moved.
To be funded as follows.
Second.
Raise and appropriate $62,446,003. That new number is $62,446,003. The remaining numbers remain the same until you get down to the total general fund budget of $64,030,207. I'll take that motion now.
So moved.
Second.
Amended motion by Councilor Marquetti, second by Councilor Ryan. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the amendment? Anyone opposed? Motion passes. We now have an amended budget item on the floor. Any further discussion? Very good. Roll call vote.
Councilor Lazo.
Yes.
Councilor Marquetti.
Yes.
Councilor Montigny.
Yes.
Councilor Rivas.
Yes.
Councilor Ryan.
Yes.
Councilor Steves.
Yes.
Chair Daniel.
Yes.
Councilor Adams.
Yes.
And Councilor Dow.
Yes.
9 yes. Item 9 passes. Item number 10, vote to appropriate the amount of $250,000 from free cash to reduce the fiscal year 2024 tax rate.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilor Lazo, a second by Councilor Ryan. Any discussion? Very good. Roll call vote.
Councilor Marquetti.
Yes.
Councilor Montigny.
Yes.
Councilor Rivas.
Yes.
Councilor Ryan.
Yes.
Councilor Steves.
Yep.
Councilor Daniel.
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
And Counselor Dow?
Yes.
And Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 11, vote to appropriate the amount of $4,343,759 for the fiscal year 2024 Sewer Enterprise Fund budget to be raised from sewer use or charges and other departmental revenues.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Counselor Ryan, second by Counselor Dow. Counselor Steves, did you discuss this?
I did, it wasn't, that wasn't at our budget. That was
DPW.
DPW?
Yeah.
Counselor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was voted unanimous by the subcommittee. With the sewer enterprise fund budget, some of the discussion was, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of funds in our capital budgets that I'm hoping at some point someone will take a look at to see if we can capture some of that fund so we don't have to we keep funding projects within these enterprise funds, and it causes the ratepayers' rates to go up when we have money sitting there in capital budgets that could be used so that the rates don't continue to go up. So I'm happy to support this tonight, but at some point I would like those budgets to be looked at and see if we can't reduce it. Thank you.
Discussion. Counselor Steves.
Yeah, I just want to clarify for the people who are watching here that for this grand total, for the sewer fund budget, if I can read my own document here, because it's kind of hard to read it.
It changed a couple times.
It has changed a couple times. But what I wanted to point out is the fact that $676,356 of this is actually coming from the general fund.
From where?
It's coming from the general fund, which we approved already. It's internal transfers to cover the like sewer fees that the town hall uses and stuff like that. Just like they transfer stuff over to the town hall to cover certain things, like for example lawyer fees or whatever, and the accounting functions in our town hall and things like that. That happens in our departments all the time.
Mr. Manager.
For explanation.
Yeah, through the council. That's correct, but more than that, that's also the administrative fees of the services that the town provides in supporting the sewer and water
Right,
funds.
exactly.
So in other words, if you notice in our budget, we have within all our departmental appropriations funds that a share of those salaries and services go back to the water and the sewer. And in the revenue side, you'll see that, for example, from the sewer, this $676,356 is coming in to be treated as a revenue for the town's general fund. So basically what you say is correct. It's just that the water and sewer rates are paying a portion of the services that the town is providing to support the water and sewer departments.
Okay, right.
Anyone else? Very good. Roll call.
Counselor Montigny?
Yes.
Counselor Rivas?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yeah.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
9-0, motion passes. Item number 12, vote to appropriate the amount of $3,616,054 for the fiscal year 2024 Water Enterprise Fund budget to be raised from water user charges and other department revenues.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Dow, second by Councilor Steves. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was also voted unanimous by the subcommittee. The issue that I had with this one, and though I did vote to send it up, the issues that I had with it is that the water department came to the capital planning committee to fund a SCADA rack system for their system. And it was $265,000, and we voted to fund it out of water capital stabilization. And then the water department, Mr. Gregoire, put it back into the operating budget. So that is one issue that I had with it. The other issue I had was that he came to us with a request for a vehicle and to capital planning, and the capital planning committee voted that down because he said it really wasn't He said at the time that there was nothing wrong with the vehicle, and then he took that vehicle and put it into the operating budget. So these are two items that were technically voted on at capital planning. One was approved for capital stabilization, one was not recommended, and then he put them into the operating budget. So I don't know if that's how it usually works. If that's acceptable to counselors, then okay, but that's the way I look at that account. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. I believe that actually he had asked for it from the Water Enterprise Fund, not the Water Stabilization Fund. And so, in effect, that's really what it's doing. In other words, the Capital Committee, you wouldn't have the authority to vote, funds out of that. It's really the Capital Stabilization Fund that we've set up. So, basically, what the department head was doing is just what he asked to do. In other words, it is in the Water Enterprise Fund. It's not coming out of water capital.
All right.
As far as the other one, I'm not sure whether that's in there or not. But
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. Roll call.
Counselor Rivas?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Montigny?
Yes.
9-0. Motion passes. Item number 13, vote to approve revisions to Schedule 1 for 2% increases effective July 1, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Ryan, second by Councilor Dow. Councilor Steves. I believe you had this.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if we ever saw it. Did we see it? Did we ever see that one? Mm-hmm. We did. Sorry. I don't have my minutes in front of me. But I think we did, I think we did recommend it unanimously.
Very good. Discussion. Councilor Marquetti.
So I'm trying to get this one straight in my head. We are giving the employees, some employees, a step increase because it would be their anniversary this year. Some of those step increases are anywhere from 4 to 5% between the steps. In addition to that, we're giving them a 2% COLA increase. And in addition to that, we are now giving them a 2% increase in the step itself. So in other words, we're giving them 3 salary increases this year? Is that how I'm reading this? Whoever wants to answer, the town manager, I would imagine, would answer this.
is Adriana here? I know she actually prepared these schedules. I believe, that these are, consistent with the votes that were in the budget to prepare these 2% schedules to quantify or to codify what we voted on in the budget itself. At least that's my understanding of it. Yes.
And if I could continue, in addition to this, which I count this as number 3, the third increase, I mean, I don't have a problem with a COLA or a step. I can't see giving them a COLA, a step, and an increase in the steps themselves. In addition to that, some of the employees are also getting longevity pay, which I know is a one-time pay every year, but it happens every year, and some of those are 2%. And then we also increase their health care insurance. So I would say the employees are doing pretty well in this town, and I hope that they have a really positive attitude working for the town of Southbridge. Thank you.
Councilor Lazo.
With years of negotiations on school side, I think what we're talking about is, Councilor Marquetti is correct. You want to call it raises or whatever you want to call it. What it is, it's a grid. And on the grid, you give the grid the raise. You don't give the person the raise. When the person goes up the grid, they fall into categories. If you want to get rid of the grid, then you're going to get rid of a layer of finance. Longevity has been there forever. When you give a longevity pay, if you don't want to give it to longevity, don't. We're voting it as one package. So if you're getting a COLA, which is a cost of living increase, which is standard, and say it's a 2, and then you're going to get a step increase. You're not going to get a step increase every day, every year. What happens is it's usually, depending on the grid, it could be every 5 years, every 10 years, or you set the grid up to what you want it to do. And that helps stabilizing the salary basis, where when they have a base salary, they're 2%, and then they're on the grid, and they don't get the 2% until 5 years later, or you're rewarding them for staying in place. If you don't want to reward them for staying in place, then we'll get rid of the step increases, or longevity shouldn't be rewarded. We can get rid of longevity, but the way it's structured, it's not meant to say, I'm going to give you 3 raises. It's supposed to be earned through the grid. Thank you.
Very good. The councils bring up very valid points, and I want to make sure that we know what we're doing here, frankly. So I'm going to call a 5-minute recess, and we're going to find out exactly what it is that we need to do. I call this meeting back to order. Mr. Manager.
Okay, we do have the schedules here that we're voting, you're voting now on Schedule 1. And basically, these are for administrative people not covered by collective bargaining agreements. And Councilor Marchetti is partially correct on this. In other words, we do have the step increases, and generally, I've just picked one step here. It happens to go up 2% or 1.9% from Step 4 to Step 5. So with this 2% COLA agreement that we agreed to put in there, that step will go up 2%. So they'll get the step plus 2%. If we didn't give any COLA this year, somebody who is moving to the next step would still get that step increase. But you don't get the COLA, the step, and another COLA. You really only get the step and the 2% we voted. And the 2% for these wages were all calculated into the department budgets based on the positions in those departments in which step they were in.
Council Lazo.
Is it fair to say that the step increases are annually until they max out at Step 5?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
That's all right.
No, yeah, I do. I just wanted to make a comment to the staff as far as what they're doing and what was previously said. The fact is that I think the staff does an outstanding job within the town of Southbridge, and they've had to deal with quite a few people, and I know that they pick and choose, where they get to choose their jobs, but, customer service isn't always the easiest thing in the world, and I just want to thank them for all the hard work that they've done, and I'll continue to support Schedule 1 as long as I'm on the council. Thank you.
Council Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the manager, just one question. Are these increases and step increases comparable to what is in our union agreements with others?
I believe they are, but I
Okay.
I have not reviewed the union contracts, but I assume they're similar.
Thank you, that's it.
Council Lazo.
Usually when a union contract is negotiated by the town manager, which was done previously, the salary study is done. Usually the outlook of a comparable town, comparable demographic and tax rate structure will set the tone. And usually when you negotiate, that's when you do the salary study. And usually it's done in-house, at least we used to do it when we were on school committee. And I too, people's business is a tough business. I'm not going to paint with one brush. I've always been the one fabulous workers will carry the deadwood. And we do have deadwood. We need to identify and take care of it, but that's life. We have a great town hall. We have good employees, and the majority of them will pull us through today. Thank you.
Anyone else? Council Steves.
If I could just follow up on that a little bit, is that from what I've seen over the years that I've been on the council, when we have negotiated new contracts, they've always been 2 or 3%. Yeah.
Very good. There being no further discussion, roll call.
Councilor Ryan.
Yes.
Councilor Steves.
Yeah.
Councilor Adams.
Yes.
Councilor Daniel.
Yes.
Councilor Dow.
Yes.
Councilor Lazo.
Yes.
Councilor Marchetti.
No.
Councilor Montigny.
Yes.
Councilor Rivas.
Yes.
8-1 and 8 in the affirmative, 1 negative. The motion passes. Item number 14, vote to approve revisions to Schedule 5 to approve 2% increases effective July 1, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Ryan, second by Councilor Dow. Councilor Steves?
Yeah, we recommend that unanimously, too.
Very good. Discussion. Councilor Marquetti?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, this one I don't have a problem with. This Schedule 5, these are the people that are making at the lower end. Some of them are minimum wage. Most of them are not step increases, so I have no problem supporting this one. Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. Roll call.
Sorry, I was on the wrong one. Counselor Steves?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Montigny?
Yes.
Counselor Rivas?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Unanimous of all present, motion passes. Item number 15, vote to reauthorize the leased properties revolving fund under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53.5, to pay repairs, improvements, expenses, and utilities for all town-owned leased properties from lease payments to be deposited in the account, with all expenditures to be approved by the town manager and total expenditures from the account not to exceed $100,000 per year.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Ryan. Discussion. Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Chair, through you. We don't have to put specific account numbers by account, which account?
It's the revolving fund.
No, it's
Just
a
for the
revolving
budget?
fund.
For the budget? Thank you.
Anyone else? Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We voted on this every single year, and I've always had the question of what happens with these revolving funds. If they don't use it at the end of the year, does it go back into the general fund? Does it stay in the revolving fund? Do we get any kind of report of how they used the revolving fund in any way? If the town manager could answer
If I
that?
may. Yes, there should be reports on these funds, and the money does stay within the fund, and you're setting the limit of how much money can be put in and taken out of those funds.
So-
And they do have to be renewed every year.
So this lease property revolving fund could have a large amount of money in there, we don't even know what it is?
It's $300,000. That's the maximum.
We'd have to check into that, but it's unusual to have, I don't believe they can have like an unlimited amount of money in there. In other words, we're supposed to be having deposits and expenditures not to exceed the cap that's on these revolving funds. And that's the mechanism for trying to, control revolving funds to make sure they stay in line with the actual activity that's going on that event, or that function, so that the amount that people are paying in for the service they're receiving is being matched with what goes out to pay for that service.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you, the fact that the town manager brought up, and the town councilor, or Councilor Marquetti brought up the fact that of a reporting procedure. Just, I know everything has changed here this past, few months. One of the things that was a requirement was quarterly we'd receive a budget update. So I just wanted to put that out there, just to note that, and it's to our accountant and to the interim town manager. Thank you. That's all I've got.
Anyone else? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 16, vote to reauthorize the Southbridge Airport leased properties revolving fund under the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53.5, to pay repairs, improvements, expenses, and utilities for the leased property at the Southbridge Municipal Airport from lease payments to be deposited in the account, with all expenditures to be approved by the town manager and total expenditures from the account not to exceed $300,000 per year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Ryan. Any discussion?
I just have one quick one.
Certainly. Councilor Marquetti.
I don't mean to get off topic here, but the Southbridge, at the meeting, you said that the airport is an enterprise fund. I believe you said that, and I've yet to ever see a budget for the airport. I just was wondering, is that something that we should be looking at, or something that they run their, I don't know how that works. I just know that if it's an enterprise fund, I would think that we'd want to be looking at it and see how they're, and have some kind of report how they're spending their money. That's all. Thank you.
Just a question, as far as the enterprise fund, who said there was an enterprise
I
fund?
thought you said at the last, actually it was the DPW subcommittee meeting, you said that we were talking about the water and sewer enterprise, and you mentioned that the airport is also an enterprise fund.
If I did, I didn't mean to. I'm not sure
Oh.
what we have for the airport.
Okay, thank you. So it's not an enterprise.
We're really only authorized, you're really only reauthorizing this revolving fund for this purpose.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 17, vote to reauthorize the toter maintenance revolving fund under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53.5, to pay for the replacement of lost and/or damaged toters from fees by homeowners and deposit in the account, with all expenditures to be approved by the Health Department and total expenditures from the account not to exceed $15,000 per year.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Ryan. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 18, vote to reauthorize the demolition of buildings revolving fund under the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53E and 1/2, to pay expenses associated with the demolition of buildings within the town of Southbridge and any revenue recaptured to be deposited in the account, with all expenditures from the account not to exceed $185,000.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Dow. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question on this one. If I may be mistaken, but I thought it used to be like $150,000 that we would approve. I didn't know if that increased over the last year or not. And that being said, I know some of these funds obviously are for the demolition of the housing, but I thought it was like $150,000. I just didn't know if it increased or not.
Mr.
If I
Manager.
may, as far as I know, that's the same number that we said last year. We didn't, to my knowledge,
All right.
increase any of those because we didn't get any information back that what was in there wasn't sufficient.
Thank you. Yep.
Councilor Montigny, then Councilor Lazo.
Thank you. I just was curious, does anybody have, and maybe even Councilor Lazo knows the answer to this question, how much does it cost roughly to take down a building? Because I'm all for, we could put more money in there if you'd like. Anybody have the answer? Maybe Councilor Lazo?
Councilor Lazo.
Oh, God. It's a long night. The 185 is a carryover balance, and I think Councilor Adams was correct. It was 150 at one time, but what happens is if there are revenues that came in and went into the thing, whether the fees or whatever, would up it a little bit. But the 185 is a carryover balance from last year, and nobody wanted to cut it back. The answer to the question of what it costs to take a building down depends, and it depends on, does it need asbestos remediation? Where is it located? How difficult is the demo job? I think 185 is good to leave in there to take down a building, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say, in the next session of the council, I'll be here, and I think that what we're going to do is maybe a new plan of attack on blighted buildings. It seemed like we lost our treasurer, the accountant, health inspector. It was kind of a big shakeup all the way around. I think we're going to be looking at this in a bigger way. I'm going to be voting for the 185. I think we have one building that we're going to be moving forward on that's a danger. And then after that, I think we're going to have to do a reevaluation of the properties that the town has torn buildings down and have not done anything with it. And I think there's a good group, a good team down in inspections that is already getting a plan together. They've been dealing with a lot of catch-up because some of the people are new there. But I think moving forward, 185 is fine for now, but I think there's going to be a larger discussion in the next session. Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 19, vote to reauthorize the Municipal Hearing Officer Revolving Fund under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53.5, to pay expenses associated with the administration and collection of fines in violation of Mass General Law, Chapter 148A and Chapter 115 of the Acts of 2009, such fines to be deposited in the account with all expenditures to be approved by the town manager and total expenditures from the account not to exceed $2,500.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Steves?
Yeah.
Okay. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 20, vote to reauthorize the Southbridge Middle High School Store Revolving Fund under the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half, to pay expenses associated with the school store from receipts to be deposited into the account, with all expenditures to be approved by the school superintendent, and total expenditures from the account not to exceed $30,000
So
per year.
moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Ryan, second by Councilor Steves. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 21, vote to adopt the town manager's 5-year capital plan, fiscal year 2024 through fiscal year 2028.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Ryan, second by Councilor Steves. Mr. Manager.
Well, we have presented the plan in your budget packet. I have been told that it really is supposed to be a 6-year plan. I didn't realize that. And, you know, frankly, for this part of the whole budget on the capital, I relied an awful lot on the capital committee, which I understand now only had a portion of that, the actual capital fund. And so one of the reasons this hasn't really been updated is that I believe in the past it was the DPW director working with the finance director that really developed this plan. And of course, that position was pretty vacant for the whole year, and I did not get an opportunity to review this and go forward. So this is the plan that's presented. I know a member of the capital committee, our assistant town manager, did update this, and unfortunately, we updated it for the 5 years. We didn't move forward into that year. There is another year here that says future years, which to make it a 6-year plan, we would look at that and then maybe more carefully move some of the other items that maybe aren't going to occur in, say, 25, 26, and 27, and moving into that year. But I apologize for that. It was one of the things I really didn't get to. But it is pretty much the same plan as I mentioned in the last slide. There were some items in here for 2024 that were on those projects that I mentioned. And in discussing where they are in the engineering phase, when they're going to be bid, they will not be getting into construction to the extent in 2024 that we'll be borrowing significantly for them. So they will have to be addressed in 25, 26, and 27. And I'm sure that next year, when we're sitting here, we'll provide you a more detailed capital plan for those 6 years.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Should this be amended, though, to make it a 24 to 29?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion by Councilor Adams, second by Councilor Ryan to amend this from fiscal year 2024 to fiscal year 2029. Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Still have.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I can continue real quick. I would say, Mr. Blanchard did an outstanding job, all the work you've done since end of February all the way through now to even get this going. I will state that this was new to the town itself, and so there's a lot of individuals. I think this is where the committee needs to take a look in the mirror and say, what do we do right, what do we do wrong, and what don't we need to change? Because there was a lot of department heads who stated that they weren't sure what they were bringing forward, when it was being due. Some said that they didn't even make the meetings because they weren't aware of them. I think that's the communication really needs to go out there. So hopefully there'll be a plan of attack throughout the year with the staff and this committee to make this possible. So the fact that you weren't aware of it, then, again, major turnover and these little small things are going to be missed once in a while. So I do appreciate it, and I appreciate Councilor Marchetti bringing this up to us as well to make sure we appropriately move this forward. Thank you.
Councilor Steves.
Yeah, I was taking a look at this, the plan here, and I was curious about something. Where it says, all of these town hall repairs are supposed to be done this fiscal year. And as we know, most of them aren't being done. So what's the plan is there a plan to get them done in the next fiscal year? Or how are we going to approach this? Because most of these things really desperately need to be done. They probably needed to be done 10 years ago in many cases. The one thing, obviously, that we did was the roofing repairs, at least temporarily, at least some of it. But so many of these other things, I mean, we're talking 200, 300, 400, somewhere around $600,000 in repairs, roughly.
Yeah, if I
Mr.
could,
Manager.
as you look at this plan, whatever year you pick, actually, it have to be the first 2 years. Let's say you look at 2023, and it has the amount, and then it has RC. And RC is the revenue code. So the ones that have a letter are the only ones that were really voted to be approved. So, in other words, there was $10,000 for the systematic painting of the interior, and it looked like it came from taxes, I guess. So I could check on that. I really don't know what the status of those are. But the ones that would have a letter there were the ones that were last year approved for funding, wherever that funding source was. So we'll try to get an update on where those projects are.
Yeah, it would be really helpful, especially since we all know that the town hall really seriously needs work, and it seems to be pointless to keep throwing it at a given fiscal year if we're not willing to actually fund doing some of this work. I mean, we do have a ton of money in stabilization. We do have a ton of money in our free cash fund, and we've been using some from capital stabilization, but that's the whole point of some of that money there. It's specifically for this building. So let's do some of this. Where does it stand as far as? I remember we talked a while back about doing some real planning for what this building actually needs. Where does that stand? To update the original facilities plan that we had from a few years ago.
In answer to your question, I'll call on Councilor Adams, and then Councilor Lazo will speak after that.
Are you speaking specifically to the town hall?
The town hall.
Yeah, we put in the grant for it to be looked at. I know Ms. Dean had put in the request for we approved that for applying for a grant, and so we're waiting for that grant to be approved so we can move forward. I believe it hasn't come back to us yet, but to take a look at it and have an architect take a look at the building itself.
Councilor Lazo.
I think one of the things we have to keep in mind when it comes to capital, and I too, this is the first time I've ever seen a 6-year capital improvement plan. There were usually 5, but in the past years, the finance in need, a department head can come forward to the capital committee or the town manager and say, I have a problem, I need capital, and this project needs to be done. There's nothing wrong with if you can't get the financing or if somebody wants to do it with a grant, you bump it. You might have to bump some of these projects a year. We run into a supply line problem with one of the ambulances. I know that we turned around and said, well, we're going to get it in 3 years because of the supply line. We didn't control it. We had no control over it at all. So I think in some cases, it's a working document. I think once we get the town manager in place, and the finance director is seated for a little time, I think the communication between the finance department and the town manager will end up feeding to the town council what the needs, what the finances are, which year, and we can better nail these projects down. Right now, it's a great start. I'm going to be voting in favor of it, and I think moving forward, I have a feeling that future councils are going to have to work on this.
Oh, definitely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. Going through this capital improvement program, and I agree with Councilor Steves, we have to do some work on this town hall. There's a lot of other buildings in town that also need work. This is why we tried to go very conservative this year on our capital planning recommendations, because we wanted to reserve money for some of the buildings in town. It's not just the town hall, although this is probably the major one. The old school needs work. The fire station across the street, we're going to have to look at that eventually. We're not going to be able to let it just sit there like that. The DPW building needs some work. The police department needs work. There's all kinds of buildings in this town that need some work. Some of the older schools need some work as well. So I agree with you, and I think we're going to try to go that way going forward. Some of the things that on this budget, though, that I was looking at, the animal kennel suddenly went to 0. I don't know what happened with that. I thought we were going to build an animal kennel. We've been waiting for it a long time. I know there was, I think it says $260,000 balance. I'm pretty sure it was more than that. So I was just curious why it suddenly went down to zero, and I don't see it anywhere else on the budget. I know the police chief is here if he wants to talk about it, but I can move on if he wants, if you want.
Good evening. Animal control is my expertise, apparently. I will say that it went to zero because no money was appropriated at Councilor Marquetti. We have, give or take, there's over $400,000 in that account, so this year we didn't look for any money because we're still waiting on a bid for the project to come in, and I'm working with the town manager on that now. So that's why that's zero. Nothing was requested this year. So I don't believe we're going to need it.
So we are going to build the kennel.
Yeah, I've said it the last 7 years. It was said 10 years before me, and I promise before I retire, 5 years, it will be built.
All right. All right, thank you.
Hopefully, at least 4 years from now.
Better eventually than never.
The other questions I had, well, you know, and I know that, Mr. Town Manager, this is going to be something for the next town manager we'll have to deal with. The water tip project, it's $750,000, and that's a bond. It says it's a bond. This is the first time I've heard that we are bonding for that. We talked about the Scatarack, the Economic Development Department, as you pointed out during our meeting, all of those, except for the wayfinding signs, the rest of them are not capital assets, so I don't know why they're in there. A placeholder, I really don't know why. Hire a consultant, open space plan, town hall study, master plan update, urban renewal plan. I think you pointed out that those are not capital assets, so maybe they need to be moved somewhere else. I'm not sure. I'm just saying I'm not sure how that works. Councilor Adams is chomping at the bit here to answer me.
Actually, I'm afraid of Peg over here.
No, all right.
Get them down.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Didn't see her.
That's why I brought up earlier, there was a lot of lack of communication. There was a lack of communication between that committee and the rest of the departments, where they weren't sure what they were supposed to put in there, how it was supposed to look, and if it was a capital item, it was a capital item, but no real definition of, look, we put this grant request in for over the $10,000 mark. Should I add that in there? Wasn't really sure, so I think there was just, again, that's why I brought up earlier about the lack of communication.
Okay, and I relied a lot on the finance director and the previous town manager when we started the capital planning committee, because believe me, this was something new for me as well. The recreation department, they came to the capital committee. They didn't come to us with any of these requests. They did come to us, and they requested $1.2 million for something, for a study, urban renewal, I think it was. And so that was something that we weren't going to give them I think it was $1.2 million, might have been more. The cable came to us, but most of their items were for the future. I see on here they're requesting studio cameras. I don't believe they asked for studio cameras from our committee. And then the airport has no capital whatsoever. And I just was curious why there is no capital request whatsoever at the airport. So that's all. I mean, I'm going to support this as well. And I know this is something that the town manager is not going to be dealing with next year, and maybe by next year, it will only be 5 years. So, thank you.
Councilor Adams.
They're valuable points. I really do. And I think just year over year as we do this, I think it just gets tighter and tighter to a point where what we talk about, just like we do regular budgets at this point in time. And it's the first year we did it. And so I think the committee did an outstanding job with what they had, especially with the turnover. So I want to thank all the volunteers on that too as well. Thank you.
There being no further discussion, all those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 22, vote to appropriate $495,000 from free cash for the fiscal year 2024 capital budget. Police, epoxy flooring, $15,000. Library, boiler work, $30,000. School, emergency repairs, $350,000. School, maintenance truck with snowplow, $100,000.
I'll second it.
Motion by Councilor Dow, second by Councilor Adams. Discussion. Councilor Marquetti, then Councilor Lazo.
I'll yield to Councilor Lazo.
Councilor Lazo.
I was going to ask the Capital Committee, I mean, a $100,000 maintenance truck with a snowplow. Are you familiar with what they're buying? I mean, I'd buy trucks, but $100,000.
Navigation, Escalade.
Quite the truck.
So I'm not going to speak for the entire Capital Committee, but we did discuss the maintenance truck with a snowplow. That is one of those things that I question as well. Why would a maintenance truck with a snowplow cost $100,000? But the committee decided they wanted to fund that, and in the spirit of compromise, I agreed with it. I don't know what kind of truck he's buying. The school committee, or the school administration said that they did go out to bid for a lot of different trucks, or I don't know if they go out to bid, but they did go around and look at different trucks to see how much it was going to cost. So I took them at their word. I questioned that as well. That's all I can say.
Because, I mean, I understand we have a capital committee, and it's basically an advisory committee to the council, and the buck stops here, and that's why when I see this, it looks a little heavy. Just asking the question. Thank you.
Mr. Manager.
Yeah, if I could, if you go forward, the actual submittal they made is in the, book beyond that, and they do have that as a top priority. And I think that the Capital Committee reviewed this, they discussed this, and supported it, and I certainly support it as well. I mean, these are the items that were vetted and came through and came to the top, and so I would recommend that that you do approve these.
Councilor Adams, then Councilor Ryan.
Just a quick question here. I'm looking at the same as well. Place a 15-year-old maintenance truck that can snowplow our schools. Ensure we have safe parking lots to the staff, and also the same on another budget, but the two presentations. But my question is to the town manager, or whoever can answer it, the capital funds that are being utilized for this will go back to the capital committee, correct? Right back into our capital funds, right? Stabilization funds?
Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that.
So if it's only $80,000 for the truck, where's the
It would
$20,000?
It would stay in the capital. Those are items that are coming out of the capital budget.
Okay, that just asking.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, these first ones are free cash, right?
Yes.
Okay, so those items are coming out of free cash.
Okay, all right, so whatever the bill is, we'll pay it out right out of free cash. Okay, never
Correct.
mind. All right,
Yep.
thank you.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I agree with Councilor Lazo. I shared those same concerns at the subcommittee. It's based on my time and what I've seen come up in the past. We run our DPW trucks a lot more ragged before we replace them. Sure. And it would be my intention, looking at all the increases we're seeing this year, maybe holding off on that one expenditure and moving forward I'm fine with all the others as listed, but I do have a problem with that. I think we can run the truck a little more into the ground before we go and buy a new truck. So that's just my personal opinion on the matter.
Councilor Adams.
Just a follow-up. Usually when we have capital items, we have a picture and what it looks like and what the replacement cost is going to be and stuff like that. We require that from all department heads. In this area alone, we can control the budget ourselves as far as the town council is concerned. So whatever the town council flavor on this one is, but this is something that I think the school, through EHS and back to the school district, that this is something that they should be required to do, just like any of our department heads are required to do this as well. And in fact, matter of fact, emergency repairs and stuff like that, we do expect any type of contract for services that they go in front of the town council for approval anyways. So if it matches for our department heads, I think it should match for the school as well. Sorry.
Councilor Rios.
I just wanted to ask, I think it was my recollection about the emergency repairs that we had talked about the school district seeking, if there was a repair, that they might seek funding from the state again, and then would that come back to the free cash, or would that go to stabilization, like if they got that reimbursed? Am I remembering right?
So if I may, Mr. Chair, I actually recall that conversation. The conversation, from my understanding, was that this repairs would be in and of itself, and anything above a certain amount, or below a certain amount, excuse me, would be covered by something funded through the state, but anything above and beyond a certain amount has to be funded from other sources. So that's why they wanted this $350,000 towards this, because they've been having expenses well and above beyond what the threshold is for the state.
Yeah, it's what they're making.
Mr. Manager.
Yeah, I agree with what Councilor Ryan said. I believe the point they tried to make, though, was that in order to do major repairs through the school building program, you have to have the design done, you have to have the needs done, and you have to apply for funding, through the school building program. And then you do get a relatively high percentage of reimbursement. But it's taking, the money to come up with the actual design so that you do more than just repair emergency things like this. So I think that Dr. Blau, when he pointed out at that meeting, was saying that, these are the things that are needed, and, we don't have the opportunity to get this funded through the school building program because we haven't got them together to the point where we have a large enough project to qualify for funding through the school building project. So I believe that's why, these emergency repairs are needed from this, town funds as requested this year.
Thank you.
Council Montigny, then Council Lazo.
Thank you. To go back to the truck with the plow, I mean, just doing some, I questioned this too at Education and Human Services, we all did, and they said it was something like 60 or 70,000 for the base model, and I mean, just doing some research here, there's a bunch of different plows, I'm not even coming up with $5,000 for a plow. Doing some other research, Ford F-150s start at $36,000, and then you've got somewhere on here, I'm reading 2022 Ford F-450 Super Duty Platinum, four-wheel drive, 6.7 liter, 8-cylinder turbo diesel, just under 90 grand, and then still a plow. I just can't imagine how you could possibly get a new truck with a plow and have it cost $100,000. I'm in support of getting rid of it, giving them less money for it. I don't see why they would need this ridiculous truck. Thank you.
Council Lazo, then Councilor Adams.
I want to replace this truck. I'm not debating replacing the truck. But the thing is, I think Council Montigny answered the question. When you say $100,000 truck, do you need chrome reels, AM, FM deck? What do you have in there for options? It's the options that drive the truck. The school department, I don't see needs a 450. That's a real heavy truck, usually with a dump body. DPW would go more into a 450. I'm just looking at the top of my head, 2 cruisers for $150,000. These are interceptors that are loaded for police work, and they're $70,000 a piece. Now, I know we get our trucks and sometimes we get our cruisers off what we call the bid list. So it doesn't have to go out to bid, it's off the state list. State bids, they buy in bulk, and we buy that. So I think I'm trying to lean towards what Councilor Adams said, go out to bid, but the thing is, I'd love to see the spec on this truck. This truck is spec'd out as a Cadillac, okay? And you can reach 100,000, but I think we need to remind them that you're plowing the street, not going to the beach. Thank you.
Councilor Adams.
Just, I'm taking a look at the extra $180,000 and the $350,000 for emergency repairs. And, and I think Dr. Villar did a good job by stating as reference projects listed in the previous facility study that we've been talking about for 5 years. and he's actually going off to study to help with these emergency repairs. So I have no problem with the support of that. I have no problem with the support of $180,000 for the different laws and acts for emergency 911 emergency phone call communication system. The $100,000 I do have questioning on, but if you don't mind, Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask Chief Norman in this question, if you don't mind, Mr. Town Manager as well. This 911 emergency services, we did provide ARPA funds to help with the communication between yourselves, the police department, and the schools. Is this anywhere part of this, or or does it interfere with what you're doing or trying to do down at the middle of high school area?
So I would need a little bit more clarification on what line you're talking about, because I don't see what you're, on this agenda here, is not on that.
It's on the next one.
I'm looking at...
Oh, is it on the next one? I apologize. We'll bring that up at the next agenda item. My apologies. I'll stop. Thanks, Chief.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Are you, somebody making a motion on this?
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we cut the $100,000 for the maintenance truck snow plow, making the new total $395,000 from free cash to be expended on the items.
So you want to cut the truck in its entirety?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilor Ryan, second by Councilor Steves to remove the maintenance truck with snowplow item from the agenda item. Any discussion on that? Councilman Montigny.
Thank you. I don't know, I think it needs to be replaced, but I just think 100,000 is way too much. I mean, I would support an amendment down to 70, but I don't think we should, I mean, it's old. It's 15 years old. They do need a truck, but 70 should be plenty of money. They don't need an F-450, and plows are cheap, so thank you.
Councilor Adams.
I'm in agreement with Councilor Montigny on this one. I have no problem keeping the funding in there with specific language. Basically, you have to go to the town council for approval for the vehicle itself, just like anybody else would have to do.
Mr. Manager.
If I could, through you, Mr. Chair, maybe the question that Councilor Adams had asked before, maybe I could have answered better. You had asked about what happens to the money if we don't spend this, say, out of free cash. So in other words, if you appropriate this $100,000 for that truck, it really is up to that amount. In other words, now they could add things to it and get it up to that. But if the truck only comes in for $80,000 that they spec'd out and have, then that's all they really can spend on out of that $100,000 on that free cash. So that would remain in free cash. But if you wanted to lower the amount and feel more comfortable with that, that's fine too. But I believe the question you had was what happened if they don't spend it, and that would be what happens. In other words, you can't just spend it on anything else. It would have to be for the actual proposal that goes out for that maintenance truck with the specifications they have in it.
Thank you.
Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Chair, through you. Could be they want to add utility box on truck, not necessarily just a basic truck, I don't know. But I agree with Councilor Adam, they never came forward and talk about any vehicle that need to be replaced or the shape of it. And I think Ms. D, she can, I don't know if that will apply to the school. Every year, the grant, we get the discount on the police cars in the fire department. That the school can get that too through the through the grant? I'm not sure. Maybe we don't have to spend the 100,000 from us. They can, she can apply, add it to the grant next year's.
Urban grant or what?
Mr. Chairman, can we keep to the agenda item, which is the amendment to get rid of the agenda item on 10,000? Then we can amend this, go ahead.
Yeah. Mr. Jovan, would you like to speak to the amendment?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. John Jovan, 80 Highland Street. Replacement of trucks, school department always comes up as an issue. 15-year-old truck should be replaced. The council's considering taking the money out of free cash. Free cash is not, the free cash is there. If the concept is we're going to allow the school department to replace this truck, how about we just say, get the quote for the truck to replace similar to the trucks that you have, submit the quote to the council, and then take up the item for the free cash. I mean, those trucks, vehicles are becoming very expensive, and with the boxes and all that, it could very well be 100,000. Let them go out and get, I'm not sure, but call the vendors that we use for the state list, get the accurate cost, and say, come back to council and say, okay, we got the quotes, this is the amount of money, this is what the town will appropriate. And then we don't have the conversation going around about whether it's 70, 80, 60, 50, whatever. But the concept is, we're going to allow you to replace this truck, get us a quote, come back, and go to free cash. Thank you.
Councilor Marquetti.
I will say one thing about purchasing vehicles. There is a town policy about purchasing vehicles, and according to the policy, you are supposed to provide the council with a report on the condition of the vehicle, and including a maintenance report. And so far, we really haven't received any of that. I can't think of a time that we've ever received reports on these vehicles. I don't have a problem leaving it in, Councilor Ryan. I think probably maybe it'd be better if we just reduced it, or as former Councilor Jovan suggested, we say, you come to us first before we purchase this vehicle. I'm not sure how we would make that into an amendment, but either just reduce it, but I don't think we should just take it out. I do know they did say that the truck is rusted out and needs replacement. That's all. Thank you.
Councilor Oswald.
I agree, if the DPW has to take pictures of a vehicle sitting in the woods before they put it out to auction, I think it's only fair that the other department would take a picture of the damaging rust and rot and whatever the wear and tear is, the mileage on the truck, in order to put it out to auction to get rid of it. But again, I want to replace the truck. I just want to replace it with the same truck that we have. Most of our trucks, to my knowledge, were F-350s, not F-450s. And I think going forward, I wouldn't mind eliminating it, bring it back up when we get the specs and the pictures. If that's what you want to do, whatever the flavor of the council is. Either way, I won't vote to pay for it or buy it until we get data in to say that this is why we're doing this.
All right.
Very good. We have an amendment on the floor to remove the school maintenance truck and snowplow for an amount of $100,000 from the free cash appropriation for fiscal year 2024 capital budget. Any further, okay, Councilor Adams.
I know we can amend to the amendment itself, so I would add on to that amendment. Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can.
Amend to remove the $100,000, which I'm in agreement with an understanding they come back with a quote, where the town council will entertain.
I'll accept that as a friendly amendment. Make it easier.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilor Adams.
So, with an understanding, they may come back to the town council with a request.
Second.
An amendment to the amendment has been made by Councilor Adams and seconded by Councilor Dow. Discussion on the amendment to the amendment, which is the understanding that the school district would come back to the council with information on the truck.
Mr. Chairman, accepting as a friendly amendment means you don't have to vote on the amendment.
We're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it the right way. Okay. Mr. Manager.
Yeah, I would just like to point out to the council that if your intention is to use free cash for this, you have until June 30th, because after June 30th, there won't be any free cash until it's recertified till next winter sometime. So that would put a time frame on it. If you do intend to use free cash, then this vehicle would have to come back to you to make the appropriation before June 30th.
We can always utilize, sorry, Mr. Chair, through you, we can always utilize the stabilization account, correct? Capital stabilization.
Especially if you throw some
You
some of
could.
this money into stabilization.
Anyone else on the amendment to the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment to the amendment?
Please vote unanimously.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so we now have an amended amendment, which is to cut the snowplow, the maintenance truck and snowplow for $100,000 with the understanding that the school district will come back to council with appropriate information regarding the replacement of the vehicle. Councilman Tigney.
Thank you. And just to the town manager's point there, if it's going to come back before June 30th, Dr. Villar certainly gets paid enough to make that happen, or we'll have to make an unfriendly amendment next time. But thank you.
Any further discussion on the item, on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment? Opposed? Are you in favor or against? You're in favor? Okay, very good. Unanimous approval of the amendment. So the item number 22 now reads, vote to appropriate $395,000 from free cash for the fiscal year 2024 capital budget, the police epoxy flooring, the library boiler, the school emergency repairs, with the understanding that the school district will return to council with information regarding the future purchase of a maintenance truck with snowplow. Did you get that, Sue?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Montigny?
Yes.
Counselor Rivas?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Steves?
Yes.
9-0, the amended motion passes. Item number 23, vote to appropriate $500,000 from capital stabilization for the fiscal year 2024 capital budget. Fire, radio replacement project, $25,000. Fire, self-contained breathing apparatus, air packs replacement program, $100,000. Police, duty weapons, $45,000. Police, 2 cruisers, $150,000. School phone system upgrade, $180,000.
So moved.
Second it.
Motion by Councilor Ryan, second by Councilor Adams. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to the previous question I had on agenda item number 22, but it should be on 23. To the chief.
School phone system upgrade, $180,000. The fire department, myself, through the emergency management, as the emergency management director, we went to the opera committee, and this is probably what may answer some of the questions for you, Councilor Adams, and asked for $100,000 at that time for fiber and a phone system to communicate throughout the whole town, all town buildings. That was approved. That currently sits kind of in the seat with our new IT director to start working on a fiber person to start installing fiber and things like that. I have no idea what this phone system upgrade is that's being requested through the school department.
Councilor Adams.
So just to follow up, ensure the schools communicate with the 911 emergency services to comply with the Carries Law and Ray Bombs Act by upgrading their phone system so staff can call emergency services. So I know it's just not the middle school or the high school, but this is all the schools within the district itself. So it may have nothing to do with it. I fully support the 180 for it. I just wanted to see if it would interfere or something that we've already helped fund.
Correct. I believe Shane knows a little bit more about what this one is.
If I could, through you, Mr. Chair, the 911 system that you're talking about, our state has just passed, or within the last year, every single room now, if a 911 call comes from a landline in a school, any school building, it has to say exactly what room it's in. We do not have the capability in our community, in our school system right now to track. So that's what that money is for, and it has nothing to do with the original money that was appropriated through ARPA.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. Answer my question.
Good. Anyone else? All right, this is a roll call vote, 2/3 vote required.
Counselor Daniel?
Yes.
Counselor Adams?
Yes.
Counselor Dow?
Yes.
Counselor Lazo?
Yes.
Counselor Marquetti?
Yes.
Counselor Montigny?
Yes.
Counselor Rivas?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
And Counselor Steves?
Yeah.
9-0, the motion passes. Item number 24, vote to rescind the letter of appointment for Lanny Creasia as treasurer collector for an indefinite term as appointed by the town council on April 13, 2023, item number 10.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Ryan. Mr. Manager.
Okay, just a quick discussion on that. Actually, 24 and 25 go together. As it turns out that in our bylaws, we have some conflicting terms for the collector treasurer. In one section, it talks about able to be appointed for an indefinite term. And in another section, it talks about it'll be a 3-year appointment. And when we submitted the appointment letter to the town clerk for certification so that we could get Lonnie bonded and on signatories, she said she couldn't certify it because the bylaws said it was a 3-year appointment. We checked with town council. They indicated that, well, if we could find out when the 2 sections of the bylaw were passed, maybe he could find out which prevailed, but we weren't able to do that. So the easiest thing to do and the best thing to do is to rescind the previous letter, not the appointment, but the letter, and then in Article 25 would be to give her the appointment for 3 years. So she'll start at the same term, and the 3-year appointment would end on June 30th, 2026.
Any discussion? Councilor Adams.
Not to add to this, I just feel bad for Lonnie as far as what we agreed upon, and so we need to do a little bit better paying attention to what we're doing.
Anyone else? Councilor Lazo.
Shouldn't HR have picked this up when we hired her?
Well, I mean, these are 2 sections in the bylaw. I don't know if that's the case. I mean, maybe I should have looked at it, but the point is, I think the best solution is simply to make a 3-year appointment.
Oh, absolutely.
One section is
Yeah,
clear,
I
that it should
agree.
be a 3-year appointment. And
Thank you.
it's fine with me to make it a 3-year appointment.
Better late than never. Right? Better late than never.
Right, I mean, it's...
Any further discussion? Councilor Steves.
Yeah, I was curious to see if you know if there's any issue with Mass General law defining one or the other.
Well, no. In other words, town council said that, well, possibly, if we could determine when one part of the bylaw was passed and then the other, he could research it to see if one really overrules the other. But we could not find any dates for when the bylaw was changed. So at least this is, I believe, the best solution. We need to have her, fully appointed, a signatory, and bonded. So I think we just need to take care of this.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Item number 25, vote to appoint Lanny Creasia as treasurer collector for a 3-year term effective immediately through June 30, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Ryan. Discussion, Councilor Lazo.
Just a quick comment. I'm proud to vote for her twice, to appoint her twice. She's that good. Thank you.
Anyone else? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 26, vote to accept 3 no-cost speed feedback and school zone speed limit signs through Mass DOT Safe Routes to School and to authorize the town manager to sign all related paperwork.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Ryan, second by Councilor Lazo. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was passed unanimous at the DPW subcommittee meeting. Thank you. I know that Ms. Dean is here if she wants to speak to this, about what this is exactly.
Good evening, Council. I was not the one who presented the agenda item at the DPW subcommittee. I did follow up by email. There were questions, and so I thought I'd thoroughly answered them. Is there anything specific I can answer?
Nope, it's
So
3.
this is just, I'm sorry. Just explaining what these are. This is like just a speed sign. It'll track your speed. There'll be a camera. There'll be radar.
If I may, through you, Chair, sure. So quick summary, Safe Routes to School, it's a large funding program we'd actually wanted to consider for potential sidewalks on Gulfwood Road. Lo and behold, we see this funding opportunity through the state come through that says they've purchased a bunch of speed signs. They're willing to drop them off to those who apply and are awarded if we're willing to install them and learn how to collect data from them. The data collected is just the speeds, and we're putting them in the Charlton school zone to replace the old ones. We've got the DPW happy to do the training for the data collection, and this is all to be done before September. So all good news.
And there were 3 of them, because there's 3 streets. You know, originally it was 2, wasn't it? Originally?
It was, if I may, through you, and I'd asked Mass DOT if they could please accommodate us. And because a few other towns had applied and then declined, we were allowed to get the 3rd.
Great.
Just for a further note, it does include cement. Correct? Right? Thank you.
It does not.
Council Steves.
I was curious that, I know we've had some issues, and we've talked briefly and kind of in passing about the idea of maybe putting some sort of speed control or speed calming issues in some of the areas around the schools. Would the data that we can collect with these signs enable us or help us do some of that in some of these areas? What is the point of collecting the data for this?
Sure. If I may, through you, Chair. So the purpose of this is because this is a direct speed calming tool.
Okay.
What they have found is that it immediately starts to decrease speeds. And so, yes, if the DPW wanted to do further traffic calming measures, you know, maybe you could determine whether it is still considered high risk if you haven't reduced the, you know, any kind of overt speeding. But hopefully this will help solve the problem better than any.
Okay. And it is only collecting speed. It's not like taking plate numbers and things like that, too.
If I may, through you, Chair, that's correct. So Councilor Marquette's question was, is there a camera on it? As far as I'm aware, no.
No.
It is not, no. But it's right, I mean, I guess I would just ask what our own experience is. What are your behaviors when you are driving into a speed sign, right? Does it change your behavior, especially in a school zone?
Oh, shoots those around. Especially in that manner, we're going to corners.
Yes.
Councilor Rivas.
Through you, are there plans aside from the Charlton Street school zone? Are there any other areas where we might think of doing this?
Is the chief still here? So if I may, through you, this was a collaborative effort between DPW, the chief, mostly the chief of police, who determined where the best location for this would be. And so I had initially suggested Eastford Road, and was told Charlton Street had more incidents, that it was more substantiated, that we had the need there. But I would assume that, yes, in the future, there would be needs in other places.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 27, vote to approve amendment number 3 for $81,000 for additional construction phase services for the South Street Water Transmission Main Improvements and Road Reconstruction Project, and authorize the town manager to sign all related documents.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Ryan. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. This was voted a negative vote. There was 1 in favor and 3 no on this one, and I was one of those who voted no. The reason, and I'll just try to explain it. I'll try to be as brief as I can. I know it's getting late. Back in June of 21, we voted to hire Ty and Bond to provide construction oversight on the South Street project for $170,000. At the time, the DPW director, Ms. Blakely, said it was not part of the initial proposal. Then in February of 2022, we voted an additional $95,000 for Ty and Bond to provide full-time construction observation. Now, I presume that that was a flat proposal, flat fee. I don't recall it being hourly. However, I'm not privy to contract. The contract was signed, so I don't know exactly what was in the contract. I know that in May of 2022, there was a change order. The council approved South Street construction project time extension as a result of delayed pipe and water main materials due to manufacturer delay associated with COVID. And in that motion, there was no cost. It said there is no cost increase associated with this change order. Now, this was recommended by Ty and Bond. It was accepted by the Ludlow Construction Company. The reason for the change order, Ty and Bond listed some milestones here. It all got delayed. The milestone to start the trenching was in November. It got delayed to June of 2022. There was a milestone of substantial completion, July of 2022. It got delayed to December of 2022. Final completion, October 21st, 2022. It was delayed until May 29th, 2023, which is next week. So the letter from Ludlow Construction dated July 13th said that there was a piping materials delay, and this was 2 weeks after the initial notice to proceed on this project. So I don't understand how it was unforeseen. But during the 2 years that this project has been ongoing, there have been long periods of time when no work was done on the road, unforeseen delays, trench settling, winter shutdown. There were complaints by the subcommittee all last year why the project was not being worked on. There was discussion about the erosion control, dips in the road, poor oversight, and no work being done on the project for weeks on end. So during all of this period when no work was being done on the road, the question was, what exactly was Ty and Bond doing? If they weren't providing any oversight because there was no work on the road, I'm not sure how they were able to spend the entire contract on oversight that wasn't needed at that time. However, as I said earlier, I don't really know what the contract spelled out, if Ty and Bond was allowed to do this or not. I just feel that Ty and Bond was certainly paid enough for this project, and that's why I voted against giving them any more funds on it. And I do know Charlie, I know your reasoning behind this, and I did read the material that you sent with this change, but that's why I voted against it. Thank you.
Anyone else? There being no further, excuse me. There being no further discussion, I'm sorry, Councilor Lazo.
If the hours of oversight are in question, there has to be a data sheet kept on the hours. Have we seen any of the data sheets to create the extra?
Mr. Manager.
Yeah, it's my understanding, I was looking for it today and I didn't see it, but I understood that the DPW director had sent you a copy of the hours worked from the person who worked at Tiger Bond, who put it together. Did you not get that?
From the task 5, that's what I got.
I couldn't find it when I was looking for it, but I believe that was it. I mean, this change order request came in at the end of, well, during March, when I first got here. And I looked at it as something that, we review and sign when it went forward. And so that's why it took so long to get to that point. I realized then we had to bring it to the subcommittee and then to the council, to approve. But basically, the contract they had did have a number of hours, for the work they did up to a certain point. And they notified us, back in March that they were running out of those hours, and they made a projection. I think that change order was dated originally March 29. And it was projecting the number of hours they expected, to the completion of the project. And so I do believe it's in order. I do believe they did do the work, and they have been, performing the way we expected them to. And I believe that change order should be signed or agreed to.
Councilor Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. According to the document that Mr. Benoit sent us by email, I've got it right here. He said this Cassandra from Ty and Bond, what's her name? Cassandra La Rochelle, states that the company did 66 hours of project director construction administration, almost 392 hours for project manager construction administration, which I'm not quite sure what the difference of that is. 353.5 hours in staff and project engineer construction administration, and 1,200.5 hours on construction observation, which was originally part-time and then became full-time. And then she talks about some of these out-of-scope efforts that are currently completing both observation and administration efforts for an additional 2023 construction season that was not budgeted for. Additional coordination required for DPW and administration staff turnover before 2023 construction, extra site visits for tree cutting and subdrain coordination. That's what she says. They don't break it down to like specific dates or anything like that. I don't know if that's what you were looking for, Councilor Marquetti. It doesn't really say a whole lot.
I mean, it does sort of document the hours that they put in.
Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Chair, through you. Is that amount, they're gonna finish the road, or next couple of months they're gonna come for more change of order, more hour? And I think our concern is that the work was done before it came to us, we approve it. And I understand sometime emergency work need to be done, but this one have plenty time to come in front of us and ask us for extension or more money, and did not do that. They did the work, and then they came to us, they want to get paid. And the 134,000, that's it, or they're going to come for more?
That's the next one.
That's the next item. We'll talk about that in a minute.
That's the next agenda.
Mr. Manager.
I believe that work will, complete it. And again, as I said before, I mean, they did bring this in March. It's the kind of thing where, without having, the process we have here in Southbridge to go through the subcommittees and then go back to the town council, the town manager would generally, sign that, approve it after he reviewed the situation, talked to the DPW director that the work was done. So I do believe that that is what they expect for the completion of the project. And again, I apologize for not bringing it to you sooner. It was work that we expected them to do, that they were contracted to do, and it was necessary to oversee the project, in my view.
Councilor Steves.
According to my quick calculations, they're claiming that they have done more than 2,000 hours on this project, which the construction observation document here in our packet says that their total budget was 1,130 hours, and that at the time they had provided 1,007 hours. And they're even adding in the 380 hours of additional full-time services that will be provided for the remaining construction schedule. It doesn't even get close to that 2,000 hours. So somebody's numbers are a little iffy. I don't know where this is coming from. And I was originally the person who voted in favor of it, so I'm a little skeptical now.
Councilor Oswald.
Mr. Chairman, I want to support this, but I'm having a hard time.
Yeah.
Usually when you're on a construction site and there's extra work being done, there's extra inspections. But if they calculated 1,100 hours, whatever, and the project had no extras or any delays, I mean, if there was no work to be inspected, I just don't know where the hours came from. There has to be some change order to reflect an extra that would reflect more inspections. And I'm not seeing that part. Thank you. Thank you.
Councilor Ryan.
Do we have anybody from the department who could provide more insight? It seems like we need a little bit more detail, and maybe a department head would be, no offense to Mr. Blanchard, I think they might be a little bit better to...
Yes, is Mr. Benoit here?
I don't see him.
It was.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
I'll do my best. So as far as I'm aware, I was told that the change order, when it was submitted to the town back in the end of March, they were coming up on the time where their allotted time to put into the project was running out. And so then the change order was issued to the town, and whatever happened with it between then and now kind of got lost in the mix, and here we are talking about it, trying to get this squared away. We had a meeting with all of the staff that are involved in this project from Ty and Bond, and they've assured us that the numbers that they have given us are 100% accurate. I know that in my time that I've been here, everything that they have done with this project and what they're claiming that they're billing for is spot on as far as their hours and what their involvement is. There was some concern about the fact that they have been working in their eyes without a contract since April, when their what they thought was their allotted funding had expired. So the conversation that we had was basically, are we going to get paid for our work? So that's kind of where we stand at the moment.
Just if I could, Mr. Chair, a question. Rich, did they not send a documentation recently that showed all the hours? Did I see that passed in an email that you sent along? I thought to Councilor Marquetti.
I don't know that I got a breakdown of all the hours. I think the only thing that I received was the form that I sent to Councilor Marquetti, which is what everybody's kind of been going off of for the allotted hours throughout the project per change order.
I didn't have the packet. That isn't it. Can I see what you have for the hours, Gus?
It's on my laptop.
Oh, does anyone have it in paper?
I mean, I know, to add to that, actually, there was another attachment to that same email that lists off the things that they say at the end, where they say, proposed amendment number 3, which is the most recent one, schedule extended at the request of the town, roadway settlement period, administration 140 hours extra, total 878, observation 380 hours requested, total 1,510. That comes to 2,388.
Is that in a particular recent email?
Yeah, within the last few days.
Okay. Do you have the date of it, or?
I can forward it over to you.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
It is, specifically, it was dated May 18th. It was actually, you forwarded it over to everyone, Mike.
Okay.
It went from him to you to everyone. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I just went to meet Kevin, Stephen, and Joe. So I'll forward it to everyone.
I would just like to, I'll yield until everybody's had a chance to talk.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask one question of the director. Is the understanding correct that this final change order would cover the hours that they have requested or stated that they have done and finish up this project?
Yes, we're
Okay.
almost done with the project.
So we wouldn't have to come back and have an hours discussion again. This would be the amount. This is it. And if they come under, the money comes back to us.
Correct, and I believe it did, I closed out the document, but I do believe it did say throughout the settlement period of the asphalt would be covered, so that would be the finalization of the contract, everything.
So so they're saying they've done more hours than what they were contracted, and that this amount will cover the hours in addition to what was already in their contract.
Correct.
And it won't require anything else.
Correct.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Councilor Laszlo.
Rich, if they calculated so many hours for this project, and obviously something happened or they were incorrect in their calculation, which created the windfall of extra hours. Now they're saying if we move forward with what we're going to sign on to here, it's going to make it to the finish line.
Correct.
What says that they're right in this calculation if they weren't right in the first calculation?
Unfortunately, I can't answer that question because I wasn't here to see it through.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Chair, through you. I mean, at the end, they work, they need to get paid, but this is the game most of the company play. They come for a low bidder to give them the job. Sure. I mean, they're professional. They have a lot of projects did in the past. A job like this, they don't know how many, it's 2,000 hours different. I mean, I understand maybe small portion of hours or something, but that's $135,000. That's a lot of money. I mean, how you can get around 135,000? I mean, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Marquetti.
The only other thing that I want to say, that if in the original change order, it was due to COVID, and it's my belief that if there's a project that's delayed because of COVID, funds are available through COVID money. So unless they've already tried to get it that way, I would suggest they try to get the funds from the government through the COVID money that's available. There's all kinds of money out there available for when constructions go over or delayed due to COVID. And that's what they said in their original change order. So that's all. Thank you.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor?
Roll call.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Sue.
Councilor Adams.
Yes.
Councilor Daniel.
Yes.
Councilor Dow.
No.
Counselor Lazo?
No.
Counselor Marquetti?
No.
Counselor Montigny?
No.
Counselor Rivas?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
And Counselor Steves?
No.
Motion fails, 4-5.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick comment. I sent that email to everybody, except to Mike and Joe, because you already had it, and I sent it to you, Sue, for the record, for
Thank
the
you.
minutes.
Very good. Item number 28, vote to approve change order number 4 for $134,805 for the South Street Water Transmission Main improvements and road reconstruction project, and authorize the town manager to sign all related documents.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Ryan, second by Councilor Lazo. Councilor Marquetti.
This was approved unanimous by the DPW subcommittee.
Very good. Councilor Dow, I believe you wanted to address this?
This is the 134.
This is the 135 that you were talking about.
Somewhere else. The 135. No, I think it's all set.
Okay. Very good. Any further discussion?
Go ahead.
Councilor Marquetti.
I would just like to say that there was a discussion on this because some of the subcommittee members felt that the work had been done, had proceeded without authorization to proceed. Having said that, I've driven down there and the road is starting to look pretty nice, so I think they're doing a good job down there. Yes, I don't like it that they took some trees out without permission, but as I've said before, we're not privy to all these contracts and what's written in them, and maybe something is given to them to give them leeway to vote on these things. I'm not sure, but this is what you were talking about earlier, Councilor Dow, that they took some trees out and they weren't authorized to do so. So that was the question, but I did vote to send this up. So thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 29, vote to approve the change of scope for Ellis Road resurfacing to include necessary drainage installation as recommended by the Director of Public Works. Work to remain within the quantities of the existing contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Steve, second by Councilor Ryan. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you. This was recommended unanimously by the DPW subcommittee. Councilor Adams made a good point. This is staying within the budget, so whether it needed to be voted on tonight or not, at least we're showing that we are still supporting this project. The Ellis Road, the scope of work have changed on the road, and they are doing some drainage up there, which was much needed. And Councilor Lazo has explained that the work has started already, but it's still within the scope, the total cost that we appropriated. Thank you.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Item number 30, vote to approve applying for the One Stop for Growth for the following grants: MassWorks Community Planning Grant Program, Urban Agenda, Brownfields, and Underutilized Properties, all 100% funded, whose projects are described in the supporting documentation, and to authorize the town manager to sign any related documents.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Ryan, second by Councilor Adams. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, it was unanimous for the P&D subcommittee. Obviously, we have five items here this evening. All were unanimous. Very little conversation was had. But I will state the one is the biggest one is the MassWorks grant that had been requested. I know at the P&D meeting prior to this, we were trying to get some funds for some commercial businesses for the sidewalks. That, according to Ms. Dean, had briefed us that was very far stretched to be approved. So what she did was she put together, and Ms. Dean can speak much better than I can on this, but basically taking a look at a project that's already happening within the town itself, adding to this through the MassWorks grant, obviously trying to tie in the historical walking tour with Crane and River Street and everything that's happened at AO, and obviously, we're at, what's it called, 12, is it 12 Crane? Yeah, 12 Crane, and all that work. So she wants us to move forward with this, and then the rest is on the memo that we received already. But I'll let her finish up where she needs to finish up that I've completely missed.
Ms. Dean.
Sure. I don't know how much you want me to summarize each one of the grants, but if nothing else, Councilor Adams is exactly right. We're tying in the rail trail, 12 Crane Street investment, which is happening because of the rail trail, supporting our manufacturers like Dexter Russell by asking for $2 million towards a design that's just being finished up. You have to have the design done to be able to apply for the MassWorks grant, and so the town was being asked to pay $2.8 million towards the project. We have $800,000 in the CDBG fiscal year 21 towards River Crane construction, and so this would help supplement so that there isn't an obligation to the town. And then of the other projects, there was a community planning grant for $75,000 for an urban renewal plan amendment, and that would be to really aim for including new buildings in our urban renewal area, such as the fire station once it becomes abandoned. A brownfields grant to check out the Gulfwood Road property across from DPW to make sure that it's clean or suitable for development, working with the private owner, and an underutilized properties program request to help improve the use of one of our Main Street buildings. And that would be it. Thank you.
Councilor Steves, then Councilor Ryan.
Yeah, just a quick question. According to the reference here in the MassWorks application, it says that we're requesting $2 million, but the estimate was $2.8 million. Where's the other $800,000 coming from?
If I may, through you, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. We have $800,000 through the CDBG fiscal year 21 grant already committed, and there was a question in the last few months about where were the other funds coming from. As all the pieces were coming into view, it was my recommendation this would be the best pursuit for MassWorks funds. It would help offset what was going to be a town obligation.
Okay. And to clarify, so this is, if we're talking the River Crane Street construction, the MassWorks funds are going to be going to what? Actual paving or watered sewer or a combination of both or what?
If I may, through you, the CDBG funds it's a water project, so it would be a water budget supplemented with some streets. So this would help offset the remainder of the funds, so streets, water, whatever is required.
And this is just going to the river, to the bridge.
It does not go all the way to Pleasant, and I know that that's been a big ask, and I would love to be able to see it happen, but no, it won't go any further, right? It will go just to the bridge.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Ryan, then Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I just want to thank you and your team for the work you've done here. You are continually proving your utility in that office because this is a great opportunity to help tie everything in together and again find more funding opportunities from the state to help pay for these projects. This is a win-win, and I'm so happy that you're leading this effort, Peg, because every time we come here, we are yet again blessed with another gift from you and your department and the work you're getting done. I'm serious. This is astonishing. So, thank you. Thank you for your effort, and keep it up. Don't stop.
Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Chair. You read my mind. I wish we have more employee working here in town of Southbridge, like you, more employee like you. Thank you. They know what they're talking about. You ask the question right there with the answer. Thank you.
Very true. Any further discussion? Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, through you. And before I start, not picking on anybody, Councilor Dow, I'm just asking questions about this.
Be nice.
The MassWorks application, I am one of them that wanted us to go further on Crane Street because I know that the people at Dexter Russell have asked for that to be repaired as well, but also residents who live over in that area are asking that that section be repaired all the way to Pleasant Street because of the accidents that have been happening at the corner of River and Pleasant Street. Some cars have been coming there, Pleasant Street, and cars have been knocked into somebody's property. So they are asking for that to be completed. And it seems to me if we can get this grant and we can prove to them that we have designed that, then I don't see why I couldn't extend that property. The community planning grant program.
Could I please respond to it? Because otherwise
sure.
I'm not sharp enough at 9:30 at night to come back to it. I'm sorry. So If I could just remind you all, when we came to you for the River Crane project, it's a water project that has to meet the low moderate income requirements by law, that we have to prove we're serving low moderate income people. So we chose to end the project at the end of the census tract. So that alone is the definition of the scope of the project. And so if the town chose to build on that with other roads money, by all means, but that's how we had designed this portion of it.
Okay, thank you. And then the community planning grant program is an urban renewal plan. And the urban agenda, $75,000 for concerts and the mural downtown Central Street. I do think that the concerts, it's a nice idea. I don't know if it's a great location. I know the reports that I'm receiving is not a lot of people are attending these. I know Councilor Steves has been down there, and he can attest to that, whether or not there's a large group of people that come to these concerts. It's a good idea. Not sure it's a family-friendly area from the reports that I'm receiving. I'm just suggesting, I guess, that you put these two together, and that's $150,000, and it's something that maybe we could give to the redevelopment authority, because I know that they could use some funding as seed money to get started so that they can do some redevelopment in town. Do you want me to stop?
If I may, through you,
Okay.
Chair. So we apply for these grants. They all have, strict criteria that we are trying to meet within the. So I'm taking what I know we need or what I think could be useful, and I'm trying to pitch it, according to how I think we could get awarded. And we've been lucky, and again, it's a lot of collaboration with everyone, with town council or with subcommittee, with the staff about how we choose projects. For instance, the community planning grant, that was based on, I'm trying to build on the money you've already spent. You got a grant from the urban agenda in 21. In the agenda, we said we wanted to train the redevelopment authority on its powers so that we could graduate them to being more sophisticated and working with money, so that should the town find, say, for instance, a derelict property or a blighted property that it might otherwise auction, it could consider gifting it to the redevelopment authority and they could do something with it. And so, maybe that's a different way to get to your aim. In the urban agenda, they were trained by the person, BSC Group, who wrote your original urban renewal plan back in 2007-11, in that time frame. They came in, and one of their first recommendations was for the town to get an amendment to the plan. So now we're building on that. So that's the goal with that one. And with the concerts, I hear you. I've told you many a times, the goal is to activate that space, to try to help people picture the idea of spending more time downtown, investing in the downtown, wanting to be a part of the community in the downtown. You're drawing from your neighbors in that area. I love the Common. We don't want to conflict with it. We try to schedule the concerts up until the Common starts, the concerts on the Common start. And anything you can do to get the word out about the concerts, please do. The more people that are out, the more family-friendly it is.
Okay, thank you. As for the brownfields, I did look at the state's website on brownfields in Southbridge. That was not one of the properties. The DPW facility is considered a brownfield. There are some brownfields along the rail trail area behind the library and also the AO complex. I don't know what you're looking for here across the street that is not considered a brownfield as far as the state is concerned. And the underutilized properties program, I have nothing against that one at all. I support this. I'm just making suggestions on how we could better use, in my opinion, how we could better use the funds.
If I may, through you, Chair, with regards to the brownfields, this was something that Rosemary Scrivens had brought up back when she was a director, but had not followed through on. We have had interest in those properties. It's two contiguous parcels across from the DPW, but there's obviously, because the DPW is a brownfields, there's suspicion that, contaminants could have blown across onto that property. Cantara has the property. They had some contamination, right? I don't know about Piapi's property right behind that, but if we can help them find this Phase 1 to be clear, and they're all good, then hopefully we could see some development of that. It's in a manufacturing zone. It would be good for the town's tax base.
I'm all set, thank you.
Councilor Rivas.
Through you. So I appreciate your vision, and I do see the potential there. And having written many grants for different capacities, I don't always understand the construction pieces. But where you're seeing how one grant can complement another, that is really difficult when there are so many different things happening at the same time. So I do appreciate your ability to, and your staff's ability to kind of see what the requirements are. Grants are always very strict. There's always narrow parameters in a lot of different grants, depending on, what it is. But as far as the Central Street parking at Plaza and the concerts there, I think that is attracting, maybe it's not the crowds that we'd love to see. I do see the vision with the businesses that are opening up in that area where we are attracting, crossing our fingers that they're opening up soon. But as people visualize and start to see themselves, and I've been to a few of them, and it would be great if a lot more counselors were there, post up alive, kind of get the word out to our community. That is a viable area, and I do think with the mural and the businesses that are going to open up there, it is going to create this alternative, like a different space for people to gather. So I do see that vision, and I do think that it is family friendly, and I do think it can be an area that people congregate in larger groups. We saw a lot of different families there the couple of times that I've gone. So, thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Thank you.
Item number 31, vote to accept the agreement from Mass DOT for $1,452,000 toward the town's $1.5 million match toward our Economic Development Administration EDA grant of $4.1 million, with $2.6 million coming from the EDA, and to authorize the town manager to sign all related documents.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Ryan. Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, if there's any questions, I'd refer it to Ms. Dean, but in the end state, we're paying the same amount out of our town, the $100,000 as originally planned. So just wanted to pass that along. If there's any other questions on it.
Any discussion? Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And in the past, I have made it known that my priorities are roads and sidewalks. However, I realize the town council wants to work on this rail trail. And I also realize grants are good for the community. Don't know if they're going to lead to economic development. That is the hope. But while the project is going on, that leads to economic activity in town. People come in, they do the construction, they may spend their money at Lazo's Bar. You never know. So I'm happy to support this tonight, and congratulations on getting this grant. Thank you.
Out of order.
He's a racist.
All right. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Thank you.
Thank you. Approve applying for item number 32. Approve applying for a 5-year urban and community forestry grant for up to $2 million and authorize the town manager to sign all related documents.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Councilor Ryan, second by Councilor Dow. Councilor Adams, is this yours?
No, it actually did not go on our agenda, but Mr. Brady's here, Ms. Dean's here to explain it.
Thank you.
Yes, so we are all humans, we make mistakes. I brought this to the town manager's office. I should have added it inside of all of my agenda items, and so it was missed for the subcommittee. I apologize. And so this is another time-sensitive agenda item. It's due June 2, and so I'd asked, or I think the council chair was kind enough to suggest it could come straight to town council. So thank you.
Mr. Brady?
Hello. So we're asking for this grant so that a program could be put together to maintain the town's trees, set up a removal program, a pruning program, pest management, an integrated fertilization program for the town trees. It's a grant from the U.S. Forest Service, and we're going up to $2 million. It's initially a matching grant, but because the town is considered disadvantaged in a couple of U.S. government maps, we are able to apply for a match waiver, which is very good. So, and if I could give you a little bit of a rundown of the things that we're going to do with the grant, if you're interested. So number one, we're going to, the first step would be to create a shade tree commission, then hire a contract urban forester and an assistant to create an urban forestry plan program, implement a right-of-way study to identify all the town's right-of-ways and easements, then research a proper street tree park inventory system and implement such a system, provide community volunteer street park tree inventory training, because we want to involve the community into the program itself. So this is training volunteers who can go out and gather information about the trees. Of course, they would be supervised. Then we perform the street park tree inventory, provide tree care education to municipal tree care staff and DPW so that they're knowledgeable in what they're doing. And that education would also include opportunities for certification in arboriculture. Use the results of the and once the inventory is complete, we could use the results of the inventory to create a community arboretum, which would give us the ability to tag the street trees that are being planted in town right now and the existing street trees. Also with QR codes, so people walking the street could just look at the tree, QR code it, and see what the tree is. And also maybe produce some brochures with that information on it as well for people who maybe don't have a cell phone. And that actually ties into the historic walking tour and the rail trail, because people can come into town on the rail trail and say, you know, what's happening in Southbridge, and they can see there's the historic walking tour, and then they see the trees, and they can find out what kind of trees are what. It's pretty neat. We will also create a street, park, cemetery tree pruning program, create an integrated pest management fertilization program, as I mentioned, a tree planting program, and also a tree removal program. Once that's done, the goal is to attain a National Arbor Day tree city designation. And then beyond that, we want to take it to the next step to attain a Society of Municipal Arborists accreditation, which will meet all the criteria of the U.S. Forest Service grant. And that's it in a nutshell. But we need approval to apply for the grant.
Councilor Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, well, I'm no arborist, so I'm going to take a lot of this at your word, so thank you for your work on this. But no, thank you. I'm so happy that we have this, something that's able to tie in with all the other projects going on in town. And honestly, a program that offers a grant with a waiver for matching parts, yeah. If we qualify, and it's free money to help come in and help revitalize the town and get a collection of our trees in town, fine. I support that. I think that, why not?
Thank you. Council Steves?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To follow up on some of these things, so a lot of these sound like great ideas. I was curious, though, is if one thing I didn't see mentioned in here is the idea of trying to create some sort of a town food forest.
A food forest. Well, that's something that
Do these trees that you are considering looking at and tagging and identifying and so forth, do they have to be on streets in downtown? Because we have numerous small parcels scattered all over town that are basically forested.
Right.
For the most part.
In order to have a community arboretum, you would have to have them on community property. It would have
Right,
to
I
be
understand
public
that, sure,
property.
totally.
So, and if you have public property that is a street tree or a sidewalk, you run into issues with producing fruit on those types of places. If you had parkland set aside where you could put maybe an orchard or something, then you could do something like that. But in a very public space, there is slip hazard and all kinds of things that have to be taken into consideration with food forests, with fruit and things like that.
I think we probably have spaces where we could do
Oh, yeah.
that. Would it also enable us to take some of the funding and go into some of the town-owned forest land and clean up some of the invasives? Because a lot of them are fairly invaded at this point.
Right. So one of the main drivers in the grant is going after exotic invasive species and insect and damages.
Okay.
And we probably all know about the emerald ash borer. It's devastating the ash population. I just had 7 large ash trees removed from my property. This grant will allow some private trees to be removed using grant funding as long as these properties fall within the most, the hardest zones, the economic justice zones.
Okay.
So there is a use for that, and that would be the priority. The priority would be to take down dangerous trees. And those would be ash trees, red pine is another one that's in decline. So anyway.
And as I said, to follow up on like cleaning up some of our town forest land with all of the various other invasives, like
So that would be something we could look
multifloras and
into.
stuff like that.
That would be something we could look into with the grant, but the outline as it is right now is basically what's on the application. We could add those to the application, but the application has to be in on June 2nd.
Right, yeah, I get that.
Sure.
So one of the things I heard loud and clear was tree removal, and what I've heard from DPW year over year is, can you find me money for tree removal?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so
Definitely.
I was so excited to hear about this and the fact that it's a 5-year grant, right? So it will be there for the short, long term.
Right.
So I think it's a big win for that alone.
Oh, it's definitely a plus, and I think it, like, for example, it could give us a great opportunity to really clean up coal forest, for example. And there's other places they need it too, but that's one that jumps out at me.
Right, and that would be working with the Trails Committee.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Councilor Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to thank you, Mr. Brady, for your continued effort. By the way, the Opakam and the tree placements, outstanding job. It looks really, really good out there on Main Street and a few other places off Main Street. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you being the last man standing when it comes to this agenda tonight. So congratulations to you. You still got it.
Happy to be the last man standing.
Councilor Montigny.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to say thank you, Mr. Brady. This is great. I feel like I know so much more about trees, and I feel comfortable with you being involved with this and all the other things you're talking about. So thank you very much for all your hard work.
You're very welcome.
Anyone else? Very good. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, item number 33, amendments to Southbridge zoning bylaw, section 5, dimensional regulations, and vote to adopt said bylaw amendment. Third reading today, May 22nd, 2023.
Mr. Chairman?
Can you pause that for a second? Councilman Montigny.
Thank you. I would, back when I was running cable for 4 years, I saw many times the second and third readings of things were waived. We never had any problem with bylaws before. I think this information has been made readily available. We've read it twice. I don't think there is a violation of any sort of process and procedure to waive the reading and move forward with the vote. Waive the reading, the third reading, and move forward with the vote.
You're proposing a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to waive the reading.
Second?
We have a motion by Councilor Montigny, a second by Councilor Lazo to waive the reading. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. Reading is waived.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I'm kind of disappointed you didn't want to hear me speak again, so. Handsome man up there.
I will assume that you meant all three amendments?
I would love to do that, but we have to vote on each one first. And
Okay, very good. Item number 34, amendments to Southbridge zoning bylaw 9-1 floodplain overlay district, and vote to adopt said bylaw amendment, third reading, May 22nd, 2023. Councilor
I
Lazo.
think we have to vote on his first
I think we have to.
waiving of the rules of number 32. Then you're going to have a separate motion for the other two.
We just
We-
voted.
We did waive, but, Mr. Chair, I think, should we not vote to adopt number 33 and then move forward to 34?
Well, that's number 36, I believe.
We'll do them all together.
Oh, very good.
You're right.
I will continue to ask that we motion to waive the
Okay.
next two items.
Very good. We
So
have
are
a
you-
motion by Councilor Montigny, a second by Councilor Dow to waive items number 34 and 35 as well.
The readings, yes.
The readings. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous of all present. The readings are waived for items 33, 34, 35. We move to item number...
I do,
Sorry, Councilor
agenda item
Adams.
number 35. I know we waived it, but I do want to, actually, you know what, I'll wait until this last vote. Never mind.
Okay. Item number
It's
36.
a long night.
Vote to adopt amendments to Southbridge zoning bylaws, Section 5, 9-1 and 10, effective June 5th, 2023.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Lazo, second by Councilor Ryan. Councilor Adams?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, one change on 10, TAC 10, under restaurants. Want to strike out a place where the primary function is the serving of food and beverages, and replace that with a full-service establishment which provides entree or main course size meals to patrons for purchase and consumption while seated at a table, booth, or a bar as part of the daily menu. Said meals must be prepared using non-portable kitchen equipment. Establishments with a liquor license issued by the Town of Southbridge Liquor Licensing Board must offer full-service dining to its patrons whenever alcohol service is available.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilor Adams and a second by Councilor Ryan. We should discuss that.
Yeah. We have
Well, let's discuss first. Okay, Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Chair, through you. The new license, or the existing license, or the whole license, can we make it clear, please?
Mr. Rumsey.
If you'd like. So thank you. By changing this definition, we would set a 3-year moratorium, essentially, or zoning freeze on existing liquor licenses. This would be for new licenses. Ideally, this is language that we've been working with the liquor board and with the planning board, specifically for the 7 new licenses that we have and any additional licenses that are not issued at this time.
Can I continue, Mr. Chair? Can you please amend it to the 7 new license we got recently, please?
It's already implied. Grandfathered in.
Well, my question to Eric at this point in time, you're specifically speaking of the 7 liquor licenses that we got issued by the state? Or are we talking about all licenses with a moratorium of 3 years? What happens at that point in time?
We are talking about all licenses here. The 3-year moratorium or zoning freeze would be for any of the licenses that are existing, and potentially even the licenses that we have available, including the 7. Actually, I'm sorry, forgive me. It is for the ones that are existing and issued. Now, anyone who has a current license and does not fulfill this definition will continue after that 3 years as a legally non-conforming entity. The idea is that should an entity close
and reopen, they would have to have a kitchen facility and have dining to be considered a restaurant versus a bar. And at that point, we could discuss with the liquor board about maybe changing the license type or something to allow a bar type use.
So I will state this is when, and I know we came up here, one of the things with the liquor board, as we've been discussing this liquor licenses from the state that we received, was that the original 7 would conform to the restaurant license and it'd be a requirement. If at any time a license is to be returned from, let's just say, Councilor Dow's or Councilor Lazo's or somebody else's establishment, that new license would then in turn turn into what you're explaining here.
Correct. It would be a full restaurant license.
It'd be a restaurant license.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I'll let the discussion keep going.
Councilor Dow, you all set?
Yeah, thank you, Mr.
All right,
Chair.
Councilor
Through you.
Steves?
When recently we applied for the 7 license, we put a restricted on them. I have to have a menu and a restaurant and a full kitchen. So I'm not sure why now, from nowhere, we're gonna change the whole license. Is that political? Is that a different picture? I don't wanna start opening a can of worm, but I think this is a become target certain people because the 7 new license, we already have those restricted on them. So what's the point? We're gonna touch the grandfather being for years in this town. What's the point? Like, why we got the 7 new license? It's like I say, this is a personal. It's a target. It's a what is it? Just I wanna because the 7 new license we get, it's already have those.
Those are restricted to area. They are not restricted, and they are restricted as restaurant licenses. They are not restricted at this point as to they have to have a kitchen facility and things like that, except that they are restaurant licenses. So the long and short is that looking in our section 4, we don't have anything in our allowed uses that is a bar and only a bar, being essentially a drinking establishment without cooking facilities or without a full kitchen maybe. The idea behind this largely is that we want to encourage restaurants in town, and to encourage restaurants in town, we have to have a better definition than a place where the primary function is eating and serving beverages.
That's why we got the
as a
7 new
definition.
license, and we all vote on that. So get those 7 new license out there, and then we can talk about the rest. You have them sitting on a shelf, and you have certain time to use them, and if you don't use them, you're gonna lose them, and now you're gonna tag the old license. It's very clear what the liquor board doing. It's enough saying immigrant, it's enough saying this and that, and now they're gonna tag Dow's and Lazo. It's enough is enough. Just focus on the 7 new license you have. I don't think we should change anything about the existing license. Thank you.
Councilor Steves, then Councilor Lazo.
My actual concern in this is the fact that we're having this change dumped on us at the very last second, when it was not originally included in the proposed changes that have already been advertised, that we've already gone through readings for. I don't personally have a big deal with the change in itself, but we've never even actually seen it in print. That's my objection to this change. I mean, I think we should probably have some idea of a clearer view of what the change means in terms of all of the restaurants and or bars and or whatever that it would affect. I don't believe that we can legally make a definition that would just define the 7 new licenses and exclude all of the existing stuff that already has licenses. I can't see how that can fly. But I don't like the idea of, as I said, I don't like the idea of changing this just because we've never seen it before. And it was not at all, had nothing to do with the changes that were being addressed in red in our documents for the last month and a half now. And so I'm not going to support it at this point, although I have no problem with at least looking at it and considering it going forward.
Councilor Lazo, then Councilor Ryan.
This was a shot out of the dark for me. What was the intent? Did this go to planning board?
The planning board has been discussing this for quite some time. and it was oversight on my part and the boards and the Liquor Commission that we were still working on having a definition. And so we had approached Councilor Adams and said, and just discussed with him very briefly, he's been at the liquor board meetings where we've been discussing how we're going to issue these 7 additional licenses, and do we want to strengthen the language that's in.
So let me understand this. The licensing board is pushing this to the planning board to get a bylaw through you to stop bars.
No, no.
Well, that's what this is going to do. There will be no neighborhood bar as Southbridge has had since the beginning of time. We had 49 liquor licenses at one time, and they were all walks of life. There was restaurants, there were little neighborhood bars, there were nightclubs, there were all types of businesses. Here's where this town falls on its head. It's not pro-business, that's not pro-business, that is labeling and trying to restrict, and I don't think that is being pro-business. By restricting something, wouldn't you want to leave it open for the creativity of the people that want to open businesses? Offer food, offer alcohol, they voted a hookah bar. We have people, one person down there wanted to block that because she had a personal opinion. I think I can't support it. This is a shot in the dark. No. Joe Dow's not that far off on this one.
Councilor Ryan, then Councilor Montigny.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't fault Councilor Adams or anybody for coming up with this change. This is not the first time we've had a last-minute change come through. It's a style preference as to how we do the readings. I have no problem with that. I think we need more discussion about this, though, because this is a major change. I understand the idea that it may seem like it is targeted. What it sounds like to me is that we need concurrent definitions going instead of this piecemeal approach of providing this restaurant definition. I understand the concerns that are being made. I don't think it's an attack on bars. I think it's an attempt to clarify language. So if that's the case, then we need to take more time to provide the additional language for other establishments, whether that be hookah bars, drinking bars, etc., to make sure we're being fully inclusive of all the types of establishments. But we're also making sure as a community, when it comes down to how we regulate the types of activity, we have clear definitions as to why. This is not a political witch hunt. This is a misstep in the timing of getting these definitions done, and I think we just need to take a little bit more time to work on those definitions. And yeah, so that would be my suggestion, is to move this off, to not vote on this tonight and have more discussion on it, so we can have terms and definitions for all the different types of businesses in town.
Councilor Montigny.
Thank you very much. Yeah, in the future, if something like this is to come up, there's no reason why you can't grandfather in pre-existing establishments. But this is an attack on the taxpayer. We're about to be on the brink of an economic boom in this town with all the things we have going on. And you're about to try to limit the types of businesses that can come into this town. The businesses won't come. Homeowners' taxes are going to go through the roof because we have no commercial. This is a terrible amendment, and I'm not supporting it. Thank you.
Councilor Adams, then Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll take full responsibility for reading this off. I will withdraw the amendment to this and recommend that we leave this item alone so we can get the bylaws passed through.
Is the council okay with that?
Yep.
Mr. Dunphy.
If I may, I absolutely meant no offense to any business owner or to the town of Southbridge. We obviously in my office, we want to see economic development, and restaurants are a huge driver of economic development. And, the world is changing. The neighborhood bar seems to be going away, which is, in some respects, is it's a shame. Now, maybe that's not true in Southbridge necessarily, but in general, the neighborhood bar has gone away. I mean, I know in my town, the local watering hole is gone. It's closed, unfortunately. It was a great place. This is absolutely not an attack on anyone. That's not the intent. And it was not being pushed by the liquor board to the planning board. This was a discussion that was happening at length between multiple different parties that I happen to be involved with.
Councilor Dow, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. Councilor Adam, the 7 liquor license we apply for, isn't it required to have a full kitchen and menu?
That is part of one of the discussions through, they're going to have to go through a bylaw. They're going to have to make a requirement for, yes. That's the attempt, right?
But when we apply for them, is it, that's what the discussed was the liquor board and everybody?
I don't
Either us as a councilor here?
I don't believe it's already passed through for those 7. That's the intent, so they have to define a restaurant at that point in time. So in order for them to sit there and say, this is what you want 1 through 7, they're going to have to turn around and make that definition of what a restaurant license is.
I mean, it's a lot of, like, there's not many licenses left out there for what it is right now.
So,
I mean,
go
I
ahead.
understand you need restaurant and draft the economic, but we have 7 still, plus another 2, I believe 8, 9 of them. Nobody come forward. I mean, we have, how many places in town you have for restaurant? I mean, River Street, McCarthy, they fight him to hell. He have 2 kitchen. They wouldn't give him the license. State issue him, they keep pulling it back. I think they have a personal problem, especially in the liquor board. That need to be addressed. I hope the town manager will look to it and investigate what's going on in that board, because there's a lot of lack and personal and racist thing in that board. Thank you.
Councilor Adams, then Councilor Lazo.
Right, so at the liquor boards, that not once did they bring up anybody else's stuff or make it personal when they talked about the restaurant licenses. And to be honest with you, this is something that trying to figure out a definition of what a restaurant license is all about for the town of Southbridge. So they didn't bring that up. I brought it up, I put it out there. The onus is on me on the whole thing. I have no problem withdrawing whatsoever. If we do the 7, and then we have to start having considerations of the other individual licenses that get returned at absolutely no reason. They got, like Mario's got returned and Linda's got returned and just returned, period. So,
Mr. Chair, through you, thank you. I agree with you if a license was returned and you want to issue with the new law. But whatever exists, because it's going to be a problem. It's a lot of small, like corner pocket, like different, I don't want to name too many small established, they can't put a kitchen there. And if you say those licenses have to have a kitchen, now you get into a lot of business going to close. And who's going to come and do a place with kitchen? You're talking kitchen about $75,000 to $100,000 just a kitchen. Right. So what kind of business you're going to draft if you eliminate some? So what's the point is bring them in new and take old? I mean, It should be existing licensed state the way our grandfather to when to be returned into the
so
town.
I wasn't aware, just so you know, I was not aware of a 3-year moratorium on the whole process. All right, so when we put these things forward, put them for a good intent to move the town in a direction where it needs to be moved to, right? So you have all these, I respectfully, you guys got a lot of bars in this town, but we need restaurants.
I was number 1 support for that license for restaurants. I'm not against that, but I don't think we should touch the existing one.
No, I don't. That's why I withdraw the amendment.
Thank you.
Councilor Lazo.
I commend Councilor Adams, my good friend, on withdrawing the amendment. I am looking forward to more discussion on it. And there is no offense taken, Mr. Rumsey, on having a disagreement on what we think is going to catapult our community forward. The thing is that there have been many people come to Southbridge and they wanted to change Southbridge to a restaurant town. The last time, I think there was 4 or 5 licenses they called destination licenses. And the destination licenses, the Vienna, dead on arrival, left town. I can list them, they're gone. Now we have a revitalization of a possible 7 licenses with the talk of making those strictly, give them to restaurants. They wanted it, that's what we wanted those 7 for. Whatever was here already was here already. My thing is, when you talk about economic development and you talk to a guy that says, okay, you're going to go into the corner pocket and you're going to say, you have to have a kitchen now. The last time someone did that to the corner pocket, was Florence Chandler. And they put the kitchen in the basement. And then it fizzled out because it's not meant to be a restaurant. It's a tavern. It's a bar. You're going to have neighborhood bars. All towns have them. And the thing is, to pigeon-toe it to say, we don't want bars, we just want restaurants, is detrimental to the economic development of Southbridge. The one thing about Southbridge is diners and bars will never go away. You can build a restaurant district, which I'm on board. I'm on board in further discussion on what we're talking about here tonight. To shoot this one across the bow was a shocker for me. To have a discussion, I'm open-minded to any discussion. There's a cost analysis to go to every business when you put a regulation out. You can put them out of business, or you can keep them in business. You can help them stay in business. Government should not overregulate. Government should be there to assist. That's why Southbridge struggles economically. Because we sit here, and these town hall employees that we praise, sometimes are not very pro-business. This town hall is not pro-business. Talk to somebody in another town that owns a business in Southbridge, they'll be the first one to stand up and say, our problem's the town hall. But you know what's happening? It's evolving right now. I see a change in the health department. I see a change in DP. I see a change of mentality. That's why when I ran for council, I said, if you don't want to treat the people of Southbridge right, fire them. If you can't do your job properly, you don't like to pay, get rid of them. Call it what it is. What do you want to be, Southbridge, when you grow up? Do you want to be a Putnam? Putnam was just like Southbridge. It was run down, old mills, ended up with antique districts, restaurants, but they never gave up the bar business. It's something of the historic cloth. In Southbridge, it's who we are. An old mill town, a blue-collar town where somebody just wants to go have a beer. They don't want to go out and go to Fins and Tails, go to the Golden Greek. Or the 7 liquor licenses that we bring in will become a destination. What do you do if you want a nightclub? We're going to not allow a nightclub? I mean, young people deserve a nightlife. That's why there are different walks of life, different beliefs, and we should leave it open for a hookah bar. I won't go in a hookah bar where I'm smoking. Just not me. I love going to Fins and Tails in the Greek. Do I sit in a pizza house? No. Do I sit down and have a beer? Absolutely. The Italian club, the corner pocket, Joe Dow's place, whatever. It's to relax, have a drink after work, and go home. We need to service all of those needs without restricting one against another. And that's all I'm saying. I commend you on withdrawal. Don't let the discussion end. As far as the liquor board, we will take care of that in the future. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Ryan.
I just wanted to say I have no, getting us back to what we're, because the motion's been withdrawn, back to the item at hand. I have no problems with what has been presented, and I will intend to fully support all 3 of the proposed bylaws as they were presented tonight. The work has been done. We've gone through them. They're pretty standard changes, and there's really nothing more to say on the matter.
Any further discussion? Okay, the agenda item on the floor is to vote to adopt the amendments to the Southbridge zoning bylaws, sections 5, 9.1, and 10, effective June 5th, 2023, as was read previously and waived this evening. Roll call vote.
Councilor Daniel?
Yes.
Councilor Dow?
Yes.
Councilor Lazo?
Yes.
Councilor Marquetti?
No.
Councilor Montigny?
Yes.
Councilor Rivas?
Yes.
Councilor Ryan?
Yes.
Councilor Steves?
Yes.
Councilor Adams?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-1. Item 37, Councilors Forum. We'll start on this side tonight. Councilor Marquetti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I would just like to, I know he's left, I think he's left, but I would like to say thank you to Chief Woodson for, it was a difficult weekend. I know there was a lot of problems in town with people riding motorbikes all over town, very fast, no helmets. I do appreciate appreciate the chief trying to make our streets as safe as possible so it doesn't go unnoticed. And also, I would like to say that I'm looking forward to attending the Memorial Day activities downtown. I know that Councilor Adams and Keith, they always do a pretty good job. Very nice presentation, and I will attend, and I look forward to it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilor Montigny.
Thank you very much. Wow, I didn't expect the meeting to end like this, but talking about Putnam, I love Putnam as an example for what Southbridge could be, because when I was cable access director, the department head meetings, we went to Putnam to learn about how they are very similar to us and how they got out of this. I think I've mentioned this before. They said, well, we asked them, what's the biggest thing you can give us for advice? And they go, well, you don't put low-income housing over your Main Street businesses. So you want to fix Southbridge, you're not going to get rid of the bars. You're going to stop supporting low-income housing coming in. You know, the thing is, there's a place there, I think it's called the Stomping Ground, and it's a nice little bar. They have music like 6 times a week, even have open mic night. Someday I'll go play there. But they specialize in grilled cheese. Really? Is that a restaurant? I don't know. I'm done with that problem. Now, another problem, I spoke to a resident yesterday about the West Street project, and I'm not throwing any blame at the DPW here or anything at all, but I was asking them to send me pictures of their complaint, and I haven't got them yet. But just had to pass along that there was a resident that says the contractor on West Street is plugging into their house to use the water daily, and like their showering and stuff is affected. And I know they're a renter, not a homeowner. Maybe there's some sort of deal where the landlord made a deal to like take their water for this project. And again, I haven't been able to verify it. I'm looking into it, but I do appreciate that the DPW director is still here. If you just kind of want to take a look at that tomorrow, I'm not sure what's going on there. And, you know, we'll have a council of the whole meeting on June 5th, another regularly scheduled meeting the day before the election, and we all got to vote yes on one, everybody, to take our schools back. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Lazo.
Wow, tonight's been festive, and as my good friend Adams always says, a lot of passion. And that's the best thing about this council. We don't all walk in the same set of shoes, but we don't believe in everything the same way. But it's not personal. It's a good, healthy debate. And we're going to iron these things out because we're going to make it a better Southbridge. Without spurring the discussion, you never discuss it. That's why when someone said, no offense, I can offense not taken, because I think maybe it should be discussed. Where it goes is where we have to work on it. On a different note, I'd just like to have happy belated birthday to Councilor Rivas. On Sunday, you had a birthday. And I'd like to wish Councilor Ryan happy birthday. She had a birthday tonight. Our councilors are aging. Obviously, they're the youngest here. But happy birthday to both of you. On a short note, DPW, I tip my hat. The sidewalks on Main Street look fabulous. Ellis Road looks like Beirut. It's being worked on. I love it. Citizens are calling about Ellis Road. What a fabulous job it's doing. They haven't even laid a stitch of pavement yet. They're just shaping the road. But what's happening is, it seems like there's a little bit of leadership at the top and a lot of vision and a lot of discussion where we need to give him more time. So far, so good. The jury's out. We'll find out in the coming months. We have an election coming up. I'd just like to say all the candidates, good luck. I know that the campaign is heated up. We see the signs. We see the festivities. I have a personal stake in the race, I think, when I call it a race, and that's to vote yes on question 1. We need the citizens to understand that voting yes on the take the school back question 1 is important to send a message through the non-binding ballot that we would like to take our schools back. And then, as we get our new town manager, as we move forward, we can work on getting them back and how we will stabilize it and make it a better school district. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing's going to come easy. My colleague to the right says we have a problem and a problem. I'd like to believe with the right setup, we only have solutions. Put the right town manager in there. Elect the right councilors, and you'll end up with progress, and you'll end up with Southbridge. The economic engine is just warming up. A lot of wonderful things are going to be going on in Southbridge in the next 5 years. It's very important to vote. No matter who you vote for, make sure you vote, because in the next 5 years, you're going to see a turn in Southbridge like we haven't seen in a long time. Thank you.
Very good. Councilor Rivas.
Thank you, Councilor Lazo, for the birthday wishes. Very nice to think that I'm one of the youngest, but I'm not. But that's okay. Good genes. I wanted to mention the Central Street concerts that are coming up. Friday, May 26th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. The performer is Hanif Nelson Quintet. Friday, June 2nd, our Southbridge High School Jazz Band is performing, as well as Carlos Odria Trio at 5 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. There's a whole lineup, June 9th, Bomba de Aquí and Gracie Day, so I'm definitely going to be at that concert. Really important to get out there and support our events in town and bring your family. And we do have an important election. I think June 2nd is the last day to register to vote if you want to vote in our town election on June 13th. I also wanted to mention Jacob Edwards Library is looking for musical acts for Pride in Southbridge. If you are a musical act from a community, the LGBTQ plus community, please contact Margaret Morrissey to be part of that event. Margaret puts on some great events during Pride Month, and there's a lot of great information for families, for students in our community. So contact the library. And a couple of other events. On June 10th, the Wellstorm Inc. is putting together Serenity board games at the Town Common. It's from 1 to 4, and I will be doing some yoga on the Common, so please join us. And yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you very much. Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, I just want to say thank you all for coming to my birthday party. No, I'm kidding. But no, this was a great night. And I just have to say, the budget we got presented and the budget we accepted tonight was $4.7 million less. That's a big deal. And that's because of the work of this council. And based on the information provided to us by the manager tonight, there's a very real possibility that the rate people will be paying might be lower than what they paid this year. That's because of the good work we have been doing as a council. We're making the investments, but at the same time, we're making sure that we spread the pain evenly and we do everything above board, and we try to give the taxpayers a break when we can. So I thank the entire council for the collaborative effort on that, and yeah, that's it. I look forward to a remaining wonderful rest of this year and to the election and to what the future may bring, because I do believe that it continues to be brighter because of the work we've gotten done. So that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councilor Steves.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Councilor Rivas actually grabbed most of the things I was going to talk about. But one thing I do want to quickly add to that list is the fact that there's a very long list of open board and commission seats, and we really need people to get involved. So please get down and don't only show up and vote, because that's important, but get involved in the community. This is our community. It's not just up here at this dais, or the people who come in this room, but everybody out there, all 17,000 odd of us. And we need as much input as we can to make this community run the best way it possibly can. And the best way to do that is to get as much variety of people involved on all these boards and commissions and such as possible. Going forward, we're going to be doing some reappointments and probably some appointing some new people in the next month or so to boards, but there'll be still plenty of vacancies available. So please join us and get involved. And it may seem like a little daunting, but it's not. I don't expect you necessarily to come up here and spend 9 years on this dais, but it's worth it. And that's all I have to say.
Very good. Councilor Dow.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, Mr. Town Manager, I want to request, please, 78 Pleasant Street, the water department, 7 years ago, they cut the sidewalk to shut the water on one of the buildings, and they left it unfinished. It's 3 inches deep, 3 feet by 6. Couple of people walking, they sprain their ankle. So if we can look at that, please.
Pleasant Street?
Tonight, just from nowhere, I just want to clear something. I do own a liquor license, but I have a kitchen. I have a restaurant. What I did today, not because of me, because we need to be friendly business, and I don't see it anywhere. And I don't see no friendly, I don't want to say 100%, 50%, because a lot changing lately in a different department, but we still need a training. We still need to have a better customer service, guide the people come to town. We don't have that. We have certain department or certain board still jealous, look at you, what colors, the way you speak, what kind of establish you have out in the town of Southbridge. They need to not forget this is a minority town. The French, Canadian, Greek, Albanian, Lebanese, Spanish, they need to stop being racist. Doesn't mean if I don't say much, I'm afraid of him or I'm worried. No, because I love this town and I don't want to make a big deal and make it in the news and everywhere. But we do have a lot of problem in this town, especially in the town hall. The previous town manager, every time we spoke to him, he's afraid to correct somebody because he can't find a new replacement. It's like you have a bad apple in the case, you leave it there to destroy the whole case. I understand Mr. Charlie, he's just interior, he's leaving. I hope the next town manager will discipline employee and have a more training through those employees because they need it. We're not a friendly business. I live in town 25 years. I have a hell to did what I did. Some people think I found him in a tree. No, I work hard for him. I build myself. I fight. Some business it took me year and year to get it approved. And you can go in every business I own and you tell me if I did anything wrong or illegal on those business. Shame on the people working here. They don't help the residents and the people like to do business in here. Thank you.
Very good. Vice Chair Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Memorial Day Parade is going on the 29th, 10 o'clock right in front of the town hall. We've posted it everywhere. It'll go from here and make a right-hand turn right on Main Street, stop over at the Honor Roll, and then it'll stop again over at the Gold Star. And I believe the band will be playing a few songs over at the Common as well. Great thing is we have all the schools involved this year. Unlike last year, some things did happen. So it's great to see that the Memorial Day Parade will be adding to its parade itself. So I'm looking forward to it, and I appreciate all the volunteers so far in getting everything completed. We have a council of the whole June 5th, and that's to discuss parts of the receivership. And even if I get up here and I sit there and I go to bat and say to the receiver, I go to bat for the receiver on certain things, it's because facts aren't facts. They're just made up stories. Up here, I'll call that out in front of the town council just like I'd call it out in front of the receiver himself. So I have no problem doing that whatsoever. My concern here is if we don't put pressure on the state itself, not the receiver, but the state, and we get tired of these council of the whole meetings, let's just say they go on and go on and on, what you're going to do is you're going to find yourself right back in the same place. I want the state out of here as fast as humanly possible, but I don't want to give it back to the state if we don't do it right the first time. I'm going to call it out. The school board is not prepared. to take over. I want them to be prepared, but there's got to be some type of come to Jesus moment from the state that has to come here, sit around the circle and have a conversation. I'm glad to see Representative Durant and Senator Fatman right now attending that evening, which is a great step. I do know I believe Martina Shea, the chairperson for the school board, has heard from the commissioner's office that there will be some sort of meeting happening, unfortunately not with the commissioner themselves, but the assistant. But I will tell you that, or the deputy, the fact is the excuses are null and void to me anymore from the commissioner's office. When you sit there and say, I'm busy, yes, it's graduation time, but you were supposed to be here 9 months ago. Have a conversation in the fall time. So what excuse happened between then and now? I'm also challenging the board, Bessie and Desi at the same time. You made decisions to put this school district into receivership. You made that decision. What I would love to have you come by and actually take a look at what's happening right now. I want you at the table just as much as I want the commissioner and the governor or lieutenant governor here as well. We need to do something here. And you know, I looked under every single Mass General law to see where there was a requirement that we had to give up funding to the school board themselves. There is, we got it. But the fact is, you know, I don't want the receiver here any longer than necessary. I do want transparency to happen, but when we sit up here and we, as counselors who sit there and say, we need to keep on these conversations happen and all that kind of stuff, and not actually looking at the paperwork that's been provided to us, we got a problem. So I would say, please attend. I'm not expecting a large show at the Council of the Whole meeting from the residents because there is now a trend. I would love to see a parent union, a PTA come forward sooner or later. The parents need to be involved just as much as the teachers, the school board. This takes the entire town to come together and work this thing out. Just not give it over. Again, that's an unbinding, it's an unbinding vote that we're taking on there, but if it does pass, it'll show the state that that the town really wants them to move on, and let's see, how do we work together? TM search. So on the TM search side, right now, I just got a brief. Hopefully we'll start taking a look at doing the interviews in the middle of June sometime. I do know some committee members are going to be on vacation up until that period of time, so we're looking at doing executive sessions there to do the interviews. I just want to make it clear as the chairperson of that committee, and to anybody that wants to come to this town and be the town manager of this town, everybody's going to get a fair shake. It doesn't matter if it's homegrown or right outside the borders of Southbridge. Everybody will get a fair shake from the committee. Now, at that point in time, the committee will send up possibly three up to the town council for a fair shake. So I do know that's been a lot of conversations been had, and that's getting around like wildfire, but that's okay. I just wanted them to hear from me, and whoever the best candidate is to become the town manager of Southbridge, the next town manager of Southbridge, then that's who it may be. Kathy, I want to thank you for actually standing up here the other night. I was not here at the meeting, but I watched your comments, and I thank you very much for standing up here on behalf of the school board, by the way. You weren't speaking for the school board, but you're on the school board, and you got up here and said what you needed to say. I need to hear more of that from the school board, though. I don't need people running away from this whole situation. I want the chairperson up here, the vice chair. They need to be saying stuff too here and attending some of these meetings. Hopefully we'll see them at the Council of the Whole meeting as well. So we need everybody at this point in time. So thank you, Kathy, for getting up here and saying what you needed to say. Meant a lot, and I appreciate what Councilor Montigny had said as well. And then for the councilors, there's a lot of work, councilors, as far as those that are running for town council, a lot of work to be had. When you come on board, whoever gets elected on the 13th, come July, it's game on, and then we'll continue to move forward. Believe it or not, the town has progressed quite a bit in the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm sure right before I became a councilor as well, but it's moving in the right direction, and I think there. And lastly, as far as the staff is concerned, I know there's some amazing amazing individuals that work for our town hall and our town staff, our police department, our fire department, and stuff like that. So I don't want to take away from what was said earlier to a point where I understand there's a little bit of frustration going on, but the fact is the majority of our town staff and hall bust their behinds every single day, all through Monday all the way through Sunday. And so I want to thank you for all the work that you were doing for the town. You know, this budget wasn't easy, and I appreciate, I know I'm up here rambling, but I got the soapbox at this point in time. But I will say is the fact that interim town manager comes in here with no real guidance from the previous, and then the staff, who is brand new in a lot of ways, came up and stepped up to the plate and provided us a sound budget this year. I thank you. I thank the department heads for doing what you've been doing all the way through. And lastly, I will state on this last motion that was on there for the amendments for the bylaws, I'll take ownership, 100% ownership of this whole thing, you know, and there was no intent to hurt anybody or whatever it may be. It had nothing to do with the liquor board. They came up with an idea, which a lot of us agreed with. We are trying to change and help the town, and that's it. So our next meeting is on Monday, June 12th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Here in the dais.
All set?
Yep.
Very good. Item number 39, move to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Ryan, second by Councilor Lazo to adjourn. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? We are adjourned.
Lazo wants to stay.
You want to be opposed so you can stay.